That's right, kids. Here I am again. It's your old buddy Bill, hanging out, doing this podcast thing again. You can't get rid of me. I keep coming back. Are you listening? Hello. Are you listening? This is the Wikidary Podcast. I am still Bill Sweeney, and I am still doing a show. And continuing the trend of me coming on and doing a long-winded introduction while the other person sits there swishing their glass into the microphone. Well, actually, that's a first since the format's changed. But I think the people already know who's here. I bet you they've read it in the title, or they've read it in the description, or maybe they saw the skywriter I hired for their local small town. It's a lot of skywriters I had to hire. Just to cover the bases real quick, send me an email. Tell me what you think. I switched up the intro music. I was using the other track, now I'm using this track. Which track do you like? I don't know. Write me an email about fucking anything. Just write me a fucking email. I don't care who you are at this point. I'll take one from Agent Palmer. Palmer, are you listening? Oh shit, I'm calling people out. Well, it's just that kind of night. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, the guest de resistance, is none other than your uncle, my uncle, everyone's uncle, but at the same time, nobody's uncle. Uncle Jay Chickalese.
What's going on, Bill? I missed you.
Oh my God! What? Wow! Just nothing has changed, and I couldn't be happier for it.
Well, I do have a little bit of information.
Oh, congestion.
I actually am somebody's uncle. My half sister.
Oh, okay.
Had a baby boy named Nolan.
Oh, okay.
So I am officially
a half uncle.
A half uncle. Half Uncle Jay. Half Uncle Jay.
People could say half what?
Right. And speaking of half, my glass is half empty.
Why don't you just pretend it's half full?
See, I know the format's changed, and I know that things are different, but shit's still the same to me.
Yeah. At its heart, at the root, nothing really changes.
Do I have a cigar? Yes.
Yes.
Do I have my scotch? Yes.
Yes.
I have a half beer here, too.
Sure.
Just for backup.
What are we drinking here? We're drinking, these are some Budweiser Copper Lager. It says Jim Beam on it. I think they aged on real barrel staves.
I think they brewed it in the Jim Beam casks.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Jim Beam was throwing wooden barrels out.
Right.
And Budweiser was like, we'll take them.
Yeah, we'll put our beer in there.
We'll put some beer in there.
And then we'll sell that.
We'll let it marinate.
Yeah.
Soften the wood.
A little bit more higher alcohol content.
I wouldn't mind some like bits of charred wood in here.
Well, that can be arranged.
You know, something kind of like gritty in it.
I think Anheuser-Busch will start selling wooden chips now.
That's the next phase. Like, then what do you do with the barrels, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black Label.
Oh, my God. Nothing has changed.
But, I'm also, watering it down with a little soda because, I know you think I have an alcohol problem.
Well,
that joke hasn't changed either.
No.
You see?
Wait, that was a joke?
Yeah. I always thought I had alcohol problem.
I didn't think that was a joke.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I thought that was just dead ass, the situation.
You're like, I'm just looking out for you, Jay. I'm like, I'm all right.
So how have you been, man? It's been a little while since I saw you. We've been doing some talking before we turned on the mics, but how you been?
Well, my voice is still raspy.
Sure, yeah. There's no cure for that. I'm in a similar boat.
The acting bit is starting to take off a little bit.
Nice.
Did a couple more background gigs, which is fine for the cash. A Sloman Shield commercial that I'm in is currently airing. I've seen it on Channel 7 already. If you guys want to see it, I posted it on my Twitter account. I'm still at Uncle Jay's Thing on the Twitter.
Sure.
Go there. I posted it. It's called Sloman's Takes the Throne.
Takes the Throne.
SLOMIN'.
And you can find it on YouTube, too, if you have trouble somehow finding it.
3 characters in it. You can see me clearly at the end.
At the end.
And I'm also a battering ram guy. You can kind of see me.
You're in the background. You position yourself perfectly, actually, for the split second that you...
That's the director.
Yeah.
Because we knew that was going to be... they said, this is where you're going to be when you go in, lean.
Sure, because otherwise your head would have been blocked
by
the guy in front of you.
Right.
But what a face
Did I make?
you are
Yeah.
making in that moment.
We're supposed to be bumbling idiots.
Yeah,
kind
and,
of, you know what I mean?
You're doing like oh boy, fucking
Chainmail. Like it's total Monty Python kind of.
yeah. There's that vibe going on
yeah.
for sure with the whole thing, and we're trying to cash in on the whole Game of Thrones fucking phase.
But that was officially my second commercial
Nice.
in a year, so I'm
Nice.
happy about that.
Sure.
Which brings me to a big announcement.
Oh,
here, too.
hey, wait a minute now.
Now on this show, a few months back, I announced a Kickstarter campaign
Previously, on Wicked Theory
for
podcast.
his name was Jason,
Right.
which is a Friday the 13th fan film. We didn't make the Kickstarter. We didn't make our goal. It was a 20 grand goal, and with Kickstarter, it's all or nothing.
Sure.
So we raised about 6 grand, which ain't shabby, to be honest
No,
with you.
I mean, that's good.
But we didn't make it, so we relaunched something called Indiegogo.
Sure.
Now, Indiegogo is very popular amongst people who are independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
Whatever someone donates, we get.
Sure. Right.
So yesterday, Dave Brown, the director, the co-writer and director of His Name Was Jason, I am the other writer,
Very nice.
and the lead actor.
Sure.
He launched the Indiegogo yesterday, and I'm proud to announce we made 10% of our budget so far.
Oh wow.
We're
a
at
quick
$2
turnaround.
grand. We're at $2 grand right now out
Nice.
of the 20.
Sure.
But if we make 10, we're getting the 10.
Well, I appreciate you doing the math for me on that.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you said 10%, and I was like, I don't know.
This
what that
math is
means.
important because real money is being exchanged.
Well, hey man, I'm not volunteering to be the accountant for this project, so don't worry about it. You got it covered.
I will not even begin to try to say the URL to this Indiegogo. So all I say is if you're on my Facebook page, also on Twitter.
Sure.
I pinned it to the top of the Twitter page.
Okay.
Indiegogo, His Name Was Jason. I saw earlier that Wesley Gaskins.
We'll just say Gaskins.
Gaskins donated. I just saw that Dave thanked him, so I'm just going to thank you in advance, Wesley. Thanks for your contribution.
He's a good kid, that Wesley.
He's a great guy, and thank you. And thanks for everybody's support on it. I know a few people have reached out.
Yeah.
And if you guys did donate to the Kickstarter, you guys got that money back. Just letting you all know.
Yeah, that money came back.
That
it was
money
never
came
taken.
back. Yeah, it
That's
was
how
never
that goes.
taken. Right.
It's never taken out
Right.
until the project goes green. So
Right.
technically, I'll say it. You don't have to, Jay. But technically, then it wouldn't hurt to kind of just take it and put it over there.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
hey, just consider it. I mean, you already kissed it goodbye.
Right.
If you think about it, you already kissed it goodbye. So
But
why
you do
not?
get stuff for your money too.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
get some
sure.
perks, and there's depending on how much you donate, you'll get there's a DVD option for like $50 or something. Or
I don't know if it's on the list, but talk to the guys. Maybe. No, I don't want anyone to get their hopes up. But why not give away the head? There's probably some kind of limbs or wound or body parts floating around.
Yeah.
When it's done.
Which leads me to this too. Two things. His Name Was Jason has a teaser trailer that was shot specifically for
The Indiegogo.
for the Indiegogo and the launch.
Sure.
And they did a really nice job with it. Bill watched it earlier.
I did. I liked it a lot.
So again, that's also like on my Twitter page and on my Facebook page, and there's also His Name Was Jason Facebook page. So if you guys want to join there, I'm one of the admins. I'll invite you. You guys accept. It'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I think one of the great things about it is that it's not dead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you guys, I think for some people, the thing with the whole Kickstarter thing is that, like, it takes the wind out of their sails. And I'm super stoked that it did not happen for you guys, and you guys are going forward with it.
In fact, I think it's actually there's a lot more wood burning on this now, because we actually did shoot a scene.
Nice.
A scene was shot.
Yeah, you guys got together, did some stuff. So yeah,
2 Sundays ago.
So it's legit.
Right.
It's moving ahead.
We're moving ahead. The director funded that himself. You know what I
Sure.
mean? We have a cinematographer and a sound mixer on site. These guys, one guy came from Pennsylvania. The cinematographer drove from Indiana.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what we're going to try to do is stage a couple scenes, like a few scenes, like an extended weekend, so we can get a lot more for his mileage.
Oh yeah, well yeah, there is that.
And we also have a alumni from Friday the 13th joining us on this movie.
Oh my God, folks, look it up. Would you already? His name is Jason. Give it a fucking support, huh? And you'll be rewarded for that. I think that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
And we couldn't be prouder of you in general, Jay.
I appreciate it.
I just want you to know that.
For the love and support.
That's all I have. That's all I can offer, really. I mean, in the end.
Love and support.
That's
Didn't Hugh
it.
Grant make that movie?
I think
Sounds like one of his.
It does. That's all I have is love and support for you. and a really great haircut.
But yeah, I mean, the acting thing's starting to, ignite a little bit, and I just
Right. Speaking of Hugh Grant, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of Hugh Grant, yes, I did. I met Hugh Grant. Worked with Hugh Grant.
You got to work with Hugh
Can't
Grant.
talk too much about that one.
Can't talk too much about it. But
Nice
no,
guy.
that's cool, man. And so you're staying busy. So since we last heard from you, between these two particular gigs and a
My
couple,
inebriated episode 2000, where it's 200. See,
that whole show was a clusterfuck.
I was
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
The whole episode's a clusterfuck. It was all good intentions,
Right.
But the thing is that you've been staying busy since then, and I think that's the thing I'm happy to hear most, because
Knocking on
I mean,
wood.
you're not listing off all the stuff that we talked about off mic, but you've been staying busy. Is my point.
Yes.
And I think that's a cool thing because more work begets work. So
Right.
you
I've been kind of silent on the Twitter, but I'm going to start changing that, so I can start posting certain things that I have been in.
Yeah, sure.
If you guys are interested.
Nice, very nice. So, what have you been up to otherwise? Like when you're not doing that stuff, are you still kind of?
Drinking, yes. Smoking,
Everyone's got to have a hobby. I mean,
yes. I haven't stopped drinking. I am probably drinking a little more.
fucking celebrate. Well, you got reason to. Yeah.
No, it's been good. I mean, I haven't. I've been to the movies.
Sure.
We're going to talk about some of
Yeah,
that
we'll get to
stuff.
some movie stuff.
But I haven't gone as much as I'd like. I've been busy. You know what I mean? And there hasn't really been anything that's been biting at me.
Like after we came out of a couple of movies, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it kind of got. I don't know if it's a slumpy kind of phase. It usually is this time of year, I guess.
Not really.
Well,
See,
right about now is
right.
when it's heating up. This month and last month, like May, June is when it really kind of traditionally heats up. It's been heating up earlier and earlier the last several years.
Yeah.
But,
with
by
Avengers
now,
coming in April.
yeah, by now we should all be chomping at the bit about something. So I guess the next big thing is probably Spider-Man.
Right.
That's a big nerd explosion type thing.
Right. Well, Godzilla this
Oh,
week.
yeah.
But I'm saying, like, even before that, there really wasn't anything like big and spectacular. And May is a huge month for that kind of shit.
A lot of studios might have moved stuff around because of Avengers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And rightfully so, because that thing fucking dominated.
It's still making money.
It's gonna make. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you guys had a show about that.
Yeah. We did an episode. Me and Ed broke it down a little bit. We were fresh out of the theater and talked about it. So
Right.
if people for some reason want to go back, check that out. I'm sure everyone's seen it and listened to somebody's breakdown. You've had enough of Avengers Endgame breakdowns, I'm sure. But if you care, it's there.
I enjoyed it very much.
Cool.
I thought it was just my 2 cents on it. I have to, Robert Downey Jr. I have to say, he's always been one of my favorite actors growing up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? His performance in it actually kind of moved me.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like the obvious like ending bit. and
Right.
whatnot. I'm talking about like just his character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he continues. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he got like a supporting nod out of that or something.
Yeah,
because you believe everything he's saying.
Yeah.
He's well grounded. He's easily the best actor of the bunch too.
Well, he's given the most, I think, with the exception of a couple of scenes, maybe here or there. Overall, it's his swan song.
Yeah.
He's given the most to work with.
Sure.
He's given the most to play with, and whereas each character kind of has like a pivotal point in the movie for
Sure.
them. He's got multiple. He's got quite a few. He's the one who has an arc, him and Cap, obviously, but his arc in that is, kind of weird. Like I didn't bat an eye when suddenly like, oh, it's 5 years later and he's got a kid. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just felt natural. It just felt right. It just, whereas I think I was probably supposed to be kind of like possibly like taken aback by that. Like the writers and the point of that is like, oh shit, that guy's got a kid now. Like, wow. Like that's a big,
right.
But to me in that moment, it was like, he was just so naturalistic and effortless with it. It just seemed to me like, oh, it just felt like a perfect fit. I didn't even think about it for a second.
Well, that's the Russos for you because they know how to fucking write a script. They know how to tighten some things up.
Yeah.
And transition it that way so it feels real that he's got a kid 5 years later.
It's actually like it's a four-man thing. It's those two writers, McFeely and whatever the other guy is.
Yeah.
And then the Russo brothers. And what's funny is I watched a lot of conversations with those two pairings had in the aftermath. A lot of like spoiler fucking appearances they did, like longer form stuff,
right?
And talked about certain things and broke down stuff. But they always get all the credit whichever two is being spoken to. Like they get those two get all of the credit, whichever two are in the room. Right. So like, but humble as they are, they always throw it to the other guys too. But that's a thing where like once you hear of how many revisions those guys did and like how long that was gestating for, like when that project really started to be written.
Plus the actors' input too.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like once it goes through all those phases and all that, but it's just a thing where like, what's great actually now is like behind the scenes, like the Russos and those two guys are actually now all working together. They've started their own production company kind of thing where like, that's, you'll see more stuff from them on other material, probably more mainstreamy kind of material, but it's like, what's cool is it's like coming out of all that, those guys working together as a quad for so long, it's like it's cemented kind of like, they're all, they got this four-way kind of thing going on now with their new production company. But yeah, fucking, Avengers, man.
I'm eagerly awaiting the next film. Spidey. I already seen the trailer. I see that they already put spoiler warnings because this pretty much gives you the ending.
It says stuff. Like it certainly says stuff about Iron Man's ending.
But they're going full force. Nothing's changed. They're just going for some more stories now.
That's it. And I think the questions for a lot of fans, I mean, for me in particular too, is like, what's gonna happen when, like Marvel stuff coming up is like the Eternals and,
Angelina Jolie was interesting casting too.
Yeah, they had spoken to her.
I think she.
And here's the thing for Marvel too. I think Marvel has these meetings with these people, and it's like, we have something in mind for you, but like, we'll take you in any way, shape, or form. So,
exactly.
Like, if we can't figure out that, like, let's just throw something at you until it sticks too. Like, and not for nothing, current buzz is kind of like that. Zac Efron. Had a meeting, and people are speculating that it might have been for Adam Warlock, which, after watching the Ted Bundy thing he did, I was like, this guy's definitely got a range now that's like more than people really expected. And, there's an inherent flatness to Adam Warlock, where much kind of like Silver Surfer, he's kind of like not stoic per se, but he's definitely kind of, he's cosmic, so he's kind of like a little like grandiose a little bit.
Right.
But he's chiseled as fuck. And good looking as fuck, and those are the only other two requirements for Adam Warlock besides gold body paint. So I'm down. I'm with it. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. I'm cool with Jolie attached too.
Yeah, I don't know who she be, what she be, but like, put her in there somewhere. I don't care. Make her somebody's mom for 2 minutes. I don't care.
I don't think it's that. I think she's got more of a presence than that.
Yeah, I'm sure she's like the
some god
queen type thing. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure. It's Jack Kirby stuff, so it's like I think the idea might be over there, like, oh, we need someone big to anchor this, because much like Guardians, it's going to be their next like unproven risk. Like, you know what I mean? Like Guardians was kind of like a thing where like mainstream people really didn't have anything to latch on to besides, okay, it's about a ragtag team of characters, wacky, and that was enough to kind of like, I'm downplaying it, but
Yeah.
But in a nutshell,
I'm following you.
You know, in a nutshell, it wasn't like there was notoriety for those characters in a mainstream way. So Marvel, like, managed to get lucky and transcend that. So
Sure.
I think the thing with the Eternals is that it's like, it's a counterpoint in a way to like the Inhumans, where it's like, here's this deep space stuff now.
You remember
like,
that? Remember the Inhumans?
And it's like, is this gonna work? This is a thing that we can barely sell comics of. You know what I mean? So
You know what? I didn't ever go back and watch the Inhumans. Like I saw that IMAX thing.
oh, you went to see that?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it for what it was,
Yeah.
but I think that all the effort went into that. The pilot or the first 2 episodes is
I think
probably
so,
what I
too.
watched.
Yeah.
I think all the effort went there because what I heard when I hear back from other people that have seen it.
Yeah, I watched a lot of it before I gave up.
Some of it just
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it really kind of just falls apart. Like, you know what it is? It feels like it, and it is. It's a thing that got rushed through, kind of like half-baked. Like, it really wasn't fully cooked yet.
Right.
And it's a thing where, like, not that it's esoteric, but it is kind of like, it's a Game of Thronesy kind of thing with some half-human aliens that live on the fucking moon for ABC.
Yeah.
ABC TV primetime, like guys, like you gotta cook this more, you gotta bake this up more, and it really kind of get rushed through with some behind the scenes bullshit of them trying to like, it was a power play thing.
I feel like they put all their effort into those first 2 episodes.
Oh, but it definitely was.
Yeah.
It definitely was. I knew we were in for trouble when they shaved Medusa's head, and the only reason I say that is because I saw that as them saying, well. This whole craziness we have to deal with behind the scenes of what to do with that, how to use that, the CG involved. Like, what's the, what would be a crazy thing to do with any character, of course, is to strip them of their powers. That's how you, how you stretch out a season. That's how you buy time.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So, someone captures her or shaves her hair, so now she can't use it. Like, that's her magic. And that's the other thing. They're all super weird characters. They're characters that only kind of like work in comics because it's like, he can't talk. How do you make that work on a TV show? They found a way, kind of, but still. You can, and don't get me wrong, like any character, I say it all the time, any character in the right hands can be good.
Right.
But it's got the chip stacked against it. It was just so out there. And
Right.
the Eternals, like, I barely even know of. But it's more Jack Kirby kind of like,
I had some of those books.
it's like
early
his
on.
New Gods. New Gods was DC stuff, but it's all kind of like, grandiose space, super powered, ultra powered people. Where it's,
Well, if it's in the new phase now,
well, yeah,
I'm sure it's in fine hands.
yeah, I think this is their swing at like, well, since we can't do Inhumans now, what's the next best thing that's kind of like of that ilk that opens up the cosmic stuff a little bit more too?
Yeah, which is another reason why I think that they might have went for Angelina. Mm-hmm. Because if not many people know of that book,
Yeah.
people are going to be wary of it, but Angelina's in it.
Well, that's the thing.
And the thing is not only is she's a good actress,
Sure.
you know what I mean, and she's above title name,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I feel that might be a good call.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's it's them doing the thing that they do with like, who knows how much she would be in it. Like it could be like an Anthony Hopkins thing where it's like in it quite a bit, not a main character, but pivotal and important. You know what I mean? Which would be nice rather than just like some cameo shit. But that's what Marvel knows it's got to do, and that's kind of like Marvel's got the bank to do that now too. We can pay out the ass for a couple of really big fucking actors. And then do our classic thing of finding really good actors for those other characters that we know need that kind of thing.
Right.
Because Marvel's key has always been like their casting in a way. One of their strong suits has always been like really good casting.
But she's megastar, and I feel that's really where they
Oh yeah.
to
For her, as
give
far
it a
as-
boost.
Well, as far as she goes,
Yeah.
yeah, we've said that. But yeah, so psyched for that whenever that comes around. But
Psyched for every Marvel movie that comes
just
out.
pretty much take my money.
Yeah.
It's just that. It's just like I should just auto pay.
I mean, we're in a new phase, but it doesn't look like anything's changed.
Like Marvel, if I could auto pay $6 a month every month,
Yeah.
could I just walk into the theater then when the movie comes out? Can
Yeah.
we make that? Can we do that?
Well, I can do that with Avengers now. With
I mean, I do that with anything.
With my Stubbs rewards.
Yeah.
I feel like seeing Avengers again, which I seen it. Well, I saw it once. I went to the midnight show when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by how great it was.
Sure.
The two of them together.
Oh, back to back.
Is really something that I would never see in my lifetime. So it was kind of.
Well, we say that. We go over that a lot. How like none of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this. As much as we've been saying that for years now, this
you and I are in that right age bracket, though,
yeah, where
to really want it our whole fucking lives.
Yeah, but we didn't
never
get
got
anything.
It. No,
we did. We barely got cartoons.
No, we got Hasselhoff as Nick Fury.
I mean, come on, we have reason to be.
Which
upset.
really, I mean,
I know, it's sexy. Like pound for pound, it's the most faithful Nick Fury kind of stuff. Like it's all in there because it's all in there. It's the flying helicarrier.
Well, Goyer wrote it early on. That's an early Goyer script.
Yeah. But it's
and
TV.
I know you have issues with him, but I
did at a time. At a time, I did.
I feel like he's a solid writer.
You know what I did? I fell into this trap where he was the name I kept on seeing on like stuff that I felt like was not good. You know what I mean? Like it was because early on he would get attached to comic projects, but a lot of comic book projects. Just, because comic book
Nick
projects.
Fury.
Well, yeah, they were like Nick Fury. They suffered. They weren't great. Right. So I kind of started to cross-associate him with like...
Until Blade.
Yeah, right. I started to cross-associate him with crap. But he came into his own, quote-unquote, I'll say, much like Marvel did, where it's like, we just kind of all started to really figure it out and lock it down and say, oh, right, this is how you do it.
Right.
But, so I don't hate the dude anymore.
No. His collaborations with Nolan are...
No, they're great. And he's got his name on a bunch of other things, like TV stuff from back in the day, too, that it's like, oh, I didn't even know that.
Star Wars video game, too, that Vader game.
Yeah.
His name is on, too, I think.
I think he was attached to, like, the Daredevil show before he stepped away, but he stepped, not that he shit on it, I mean? He stepped away for other things, but I think he was, like, the guy who kind of, like, broke that. And then the actual guy who ended up show running it came in after him.
Dark City, baby.
Dark City. I mean, come on.
Well, that's a movie people should go check out.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Yay, Marvel.
Yay, Marvel.
The bell is still here.
The bell is still here. That's the Marvel bell.
I'm liking your new David Letterman sort of thing going.
You liking this?
Yeah, this new show.
Yeah.
You just got to grow that big beard.
I was gonna get
Speaking of beards, I have a beard.
That's true.
It's got its own Facebook page.
Way to bring it back to you, Jay.
Uncle Jay's beard. No, I'm kidding.
Uncle Jay, it's your Twitter handle. So, what else have you seen?
What else have I seen? Let's see. Not really much. We'll touch up on a little Stephen King action because I want to say I started Castle Rock.
Okay.
I haven't finished it yet. Just want to let you know.
Sure.
I'm kind of like not even sure yet about it.
Yeah. That's how I felt the whole season, and just and I don't mean overall, but it's kind of like as I went through it, I was just kind of like
it's disjointed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the fuck to make of it.
Yeah,
I have only 2 episodes.
They're
in.
definitely doing the thing where they're holding like some clarity for the last episodes. So if it feels like I'm not sure like what's going on, I think I know what's going on, but I feel like I might not know what's going on. That's because they're saving some real clarity for the last.
But I'll watch anything with Scott Glenn in it because he's just awesome.
He loves you too.
That's good. But the reason why I brought up Castle Rock because I did see Pet Sematary.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while. It's been out a couple of months.
Yeah, the remake. The
remake. So I have some issues with it.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to like in it.
Sure.
And then it kind of pissed me off. Because the first thing is this. I didn't realize until I saw the trailer that they were not doing the adaptation of the novel.
Oh, they were making changes to that too?
They made, I mean, because it's not Gage anymore. It's the daughter.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of put me off right away. You know what I mean? But the thing is that Jason Clarke plays the father.
Right.
And John Lithgow is playing Judd. These are 2 solid actors.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed them as those characters.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the whole build-up. There's some really great cinematography going on. There's some great settings going on. But the story, as it started to unfold, I kind of predicted early on where it was going,
Okay.
and I was praying I was wrong.
No, it's like that.
Yeah. So by the end of the day, I was kind of like, fuck. You know what I mean? And then you go back and watch the older one, and I'm like, well, but the older one kind of suffers a little. Like I had a problem with Dale Midkiff. I mean, I liked that actor and other things, but I felt like he just wasn't a stern enough dad.
Oh, okay. All right. Like he should have yelled at the kid more?
No, I feel like maybe
Don't go in the highway.
I thought maybe it was his performance in it that kind of.
There is a kind of like disjointedness to him, and I felt like too for years. Like,
Right.
yeah, there is something that doesn't quite nail it. But
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was the problem. Fred Gwynn owns that role. That is Fred Gwynn's
sure.
role.
Absolutely.
So I think that if you really want Pet Sematary and a more faithful adaptation of the novel, watch that movie because it's almost like the novel.
Right. I never read the book. You've read the book, though?
Yeah, and there's a couple of things because Stephen King goes off and off and off and off.
Yeah.
But he wrote the screenplay. He adapted his own novel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
So he left out parts that probably couldn't be filmed.
Sure.
But yeah, I probably have to trash that one, Pet Sematary, in that sense. But there's a lot to like in it.
Okay.
So that's where I'm borderline with it. I had the same reaction with the Shazam.
Okay.
But I'm leaning more towards cash on that.
Okay.
The only thing is like everything to me in Shazam was fine. I laughed, I had a good time. Then he annoyed me after a while. You know what I mean? Like the character was starting to annoy me in certain things.
Okay.
To the point where what brought me back was certain dark elements that happened in the film with Jaman Hansu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they had the balls to actually, and I feel that was pressured by the studio to make it darker because it's pretty much big.
Well, I feel like that's on the director, really. I feel like because that guy comes from the horror stuff,
and I'm happy he went there.
No, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that was studio. I bet you, for my money, I think that it comes from him, where it's like, well, my sensibility means that in the end, these darker ideas in the script come out really dark in the final. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go to the wall with, we're going to put like a demon looking thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it better be fucking scary.
Right.
And it really is fucking scary.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like this juxtaposition where like the main character's really kind of goofy at certain points because we're having fun with it. And then like, you got this dark shit that you set up at the beginning. Then in the end, just kind of feels like superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But good, but like it's disjointed in a way.
Like I had fun with it.
Yeah, I did too.
But I do remember just sitting there feeling like all right, this is a little on my nerves because I mean it's the character, you know what I mean? He's a little boy.
Yeah.
Basically, you know what I mean? But it was starting to run my nerves a little bit.
My issue with it was that the kid, when he's a kid, is like not as silly and as goofy.
It doesn't match the actor.
And if they had and my whole thing is if they had just pointed out that, well, when I am Shazam, that's when I'm happy. Like, like I'm actually kind of like maybe like a bit of a downer. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like a sullen kid when I have to be just a kid. So my personality actually comes out. If they had actually kind of said that and landed that, then I don't think that juxtaposition would have felt weird. But it did feel to me like he's acting like a 10-year-old. The kid is 15, or 14 or 12 or 13.
Right.
But he's acting like he's like 9 or 10 sometimes.
Right. Like I just felt it was a bit weak.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough to make me not recommend it to somebody.
I mean, look, the same thing happens with Big too.
Yeah, right.
Like people are like, oh, he acts like a great kid. I'm like, yeah, but he acts like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old sometimes. And then the kid who he's playing is like 10. I mean, like 12 to 15 or some shit. Like,
he was 13.
But that kid's not gonna be like when a girl tries to kiss him. Like all of a sudden be like, oh,
well, that was just it though. He was also like, not. He was what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't completely grown. He was the smallest of the 13-year-olds.
Yeah, sure.
He was kind of almost babied by his mom a little bit. So I think that's kind of different.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Here's the thing: Tom Hanks is doing stuff in there to play for laughs as Goofy. that in retrospect look a little spastic, almost like he's doing like awkward hand things with the robot, like, you know, and like, you know,
but, all right.
he's literally spitting out food all over the place like a little kid would do.
Right.
I don't think a 10-year-old would do that. They would go spit it in somewhere, anywhere. They wouldn't la 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 with the caviar where he starts.
Oh,
so we're doing things for laughs that in total sometimes, you know.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It doesn't make me hate the thing.
I did like the stuff with the kids in the movie, but I did feel like some of it was also kind of redundant from other movies. I didn't buy the stepfather and Jerry.
Jerry from Walking Dead
was the stepfather.
If you guys need me to sharpen a weapon, I mean, I can do that.
But I did like it. I am looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Yeah, I think it'll get better.
Yeah.
I think it will get better.
I absolutely do that, and I think they did pick the perfect guy.
Yeah,
just kind of annoyed me.
I think it'll grow. I think, you know, that's the thing where, like, now that they've seen it, they'll get some feedback. They'll tighten up the shit.
So there was that.
What else have you seen?
So I saw a movie that kind of really blew me away a little bit.
It rang your bell.
Brightburn.
Nice.
And I'll say this: I appreciate the gun family because there's a lot of guns on this one.
From what I understand, the guns are ablazing.
Guns are ablazing. I salute them for having the balls to make this movie.
There you go.
Because to me, I'm actually surprised that the movie did get made in this day and age.
Yeah, well, you know, they had to go outside the mainstream big studio system to get it done, but that's for the betterment of the thing.
And this is the kind of movies that I would love to be making. You know what I mean? Something with balls, not afraid to go there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Loved it. You know what I mean? I was totally in it. It looks great too.
Yeah, I want to see it
what
too.
they did with the money. And then I went back to read some of the reviews, and there's people that just feel like this is like, you shouldn't be putting kids in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, I getting all of that, and I am like happy that people are saying that, because fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know.
It goes back to, this is the kind of movie, like superhero movies basically dominate the box office. This is the kind of shit that I miss. Back in the 80s and the 90s, they used to make movies like this.
Yeah.
Where shit was unsafe. And this is unsafe. And it was great,
well, you know what and it's not pretty. Like, you know, it's not about, like, you know.
Right, it's dark.
It's dark as fuck. And
yeah.
so, like, you know, what do? We just don't make it then because it's centered around a kid? Like, you don't think there are protections in place for kids? Is that what you think?
Right.
And here's the other thing. People don't think that they think this, but they do. They think kids are stupid.
Right.
And they think, like, you know, like, well, kids are too young and immature to handle certain things. And guess what? You wouldn't have thought that about yourself at the time if they picked you. And you wouldn't think that about yourself now, about you then. Like, you would think, like, if I asked those people, well, would you have been able to handle it?
Right.
And most of them probably go, well, yeah, I probably could have done it. So why couldn't that kid? What makes you think that that kid's going to be damaged now for life? And what makes you think that they didn't kind of like cover their bases with that? Like, make sure to go over with him with certain material and make sure he really kind of understood it, or, you know, I don't know, had him talk to a professional or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, to preemptively. You think they're not covering bases like that? I mean, come on.
Because they really are dealing with a kid that's divided.
Emotionally,
yeah, you know what I mean? Because it is the Superman story. It's just
a dark angle on it.
with a horror angle on it.
Well, horror, yeah, for sure.
Which is brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, you only see that in graphic novels, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, or you only have that in conversations. It's like, oh, what if this thing that like went really good went really bad?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the what if tale. You know?
And I think that just people aren't getting it. Like, even if you said that in conversation at a bar, you know, there'll be somebody who's a little too prim and proper about superhero films saying, well, that wouldn't work because that's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying merge the two.
Yeah.
And here you got it.
And here you got it.
I think this probably might end up on my top 10 list.
Okay.
You know, maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? At the end of the year and all that.
At the end of the year.
But I'm jazzed to see it. I'm excited about it.
I really, really liked it a lot.
I was jazzed for the premise from the word go.
Some of those shots of the kid in the mask.
Straight up iconic.
Yeah, some of the cinematography and some of the shots in this are just like amazing, and it got my juices flowing.
Got my juices flowing.
So, and we spoke about Avengers already, but
Yeah, we did.
but
we
the
did.
new movie is Godzilla, King of the Monsters, man.
You saw it?
He doesn't yell like that. That was a
He
bad.
should. He
that
should.
was a bad. So I know I did it.
That's my Godzilla impression.
So so this is a sequel
No.
to Godzilla. Yeah. Well, a lot of people. It's 5 years ago that.
Well, I just meant in general. It's like number 32.
52.
It's like 52. Yeah.
There's about 25 of them in Tokyo that we haven't even seen.
Bro, I watched a video from one of like the sites is where it's like, oh, here's like a quick rundown on some Godzilla history for you,
Right.
Like from like people who like really kind of like did their homework and stuff.
Listen.
And like not only there's just errors, there's errors of
Oh, yeah,
Godzilla.
yeah.
It's like whichever there's like been 3 kind of like errors and shit like that. And it's just like it's too many.
I guess because actually all but 3 films were all like Tokyo based.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had the 98 Roland Emmerich.
Right.
And then in 2014, we got the Gareth Edwards, which I wasn't a fan of, by the way. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
There's a lot of tease and
the story was good,
but there's a lot of tease.
but
and
you
no
didn't
show.
get Godzilla.
Yeah,
man.
that's a lot of people's bone with
and
that.
they were reserved on it.
Yeah.
Because they felt that movies were showing a little too much, I guess, because Michael Bay, shot his wad with the Transformers. You see every fucking
Well,
thing
here's
explode.
the thing. They took a chance with something. They were
Yeah.
like, maybe less is more. Sometimes it is.
Right.
Like some movies, hey, you don't have to show the shark the whole movie.
Right.
But the way they did it here didn't work.
No, because of every time you started to see a clear glimpse of them, they cut away. The fights, you only saw a bit of it. You know what I mean? So
So the whole let them
Right.
fight,
yeah,
but don't show it.
but don't show. Well, here you get the fights.
Finally. Yeah, I heard it's like, it's like Royal. It's like Royal Rumble.
But but let me tell you something. It's not overdone either.
Okay.
Because there's still, again, there's a lot of story going on, and I was invested in it. You have Vera Farmiga and Kyle Chandler, Tyrion's dad in Game of Thrones, Charles Dance. That guy's
sure.
great.
Oh, yeah, he's
I'll watch
great.
that motherfucker.
Oh,
anyway.
I didn't know he was even in it.
Noopsy from Golden Child.
Was he Noopsy?
Yeah, he was Noopsy.
I didn't. Oh, wow. Wow, that's changed my whole outlook on
Sergeant
him.
Noopsy.
I'll never look at Game of Thrones the same.
Well, the thing is, too, they did a really nice job with this. This is the 3rd movie in a shared universe, Kong, Skull Island.
Yeah, that's
They
common.
mentioned Kong. They mentioned Skull Island. There's a really good story in the making here, too. So I think if you watch this film, you'll get exactly what you want in a monster showdown. But I think also that other people that are invested in story will get that, too.
That's good.
So it's a good time at the movies. Not the best thing in the fucking world. I still think Kong Skull Island is the best of the 3.
Godzilla. So,
So that's cash.
that's cash, right? I mean, that's definitely cash.
That's a cash.
Um,
And fun.
did no Godzuki?
No, but I will say this, though. Godzilla gets as much screen time as Ghidorah.
I thought you were going to say he does get laid.
He gets laid, yeah. Because Ghidorah looks amazing.
Okay. Is that the multi-headed one?
Yeah, the
Okay.
3-headed. That just and then maybe, and that's just part of the fun is everybody who's ever watched those movies and loved those kaiju stuff is getting to see it on a scale, unbelievable.
Well, that's
scale.
the one thing that I hear is really they've really nailed is the sense of scale.
Yeah.
And how and I noticed that from the one trailer too. I was like, oh my god, like the sense of scale. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing something different here.
Yeah, it's
maybe
big.
I have to kind of like analyze to figure out what they're doing, but they're doing something different.
Right.
And you can feel how big they are now. Maybe it's like some pullback shot. I don't know.
Yeah, your third act is a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the third act is like everything goes to shit, right?
But Millie,
Milli
11 is in it. Millie Bobby Brown, she's in it.
yeah.
She's good. People are back from the old one, but yeah, it's a fun summer film.
She's like the Godzilla whisperer in this,
yes,
right?
pretty much. Because every
was only kinda
every
like-
movie has that.
Hey, that's true. That's true. There is somebody who's
There's a
always
whisperer.
like, "It's gonna be okay."
It wasn't no Godzilla 1985 where they had Raymond Burr come back to play the same character,
That he played back in the other one. In
and he
65.
never leaves the control room.
I'm gonna stay where it's safe, boys. I'm staying here. You guys run out.
And what was his name? Steve Martin.
That's the character's name of
His
that.
name is Steve Martin. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Because basically all it was somebody, Tokyo made Godzilla, and when it came over here, we need an actor in this.
Oh, yeah.
So they shot a half hour.
Shot a half hour and just jammed it in there. And, like,
and they did the same thing again 30 years later for that other
It's all you gotta do. It's kind of what they do with movies we send over there, too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, it's got one Asian character here who's like a blip in the movie.
Yeah.
But over there, he's got like 20 lines. Like, all of a sudden over there, it's like his movie,
Right.
What else did you see?
That was it.
That was it for films.
Those are the films I saw in the theater.
In the old theatre.
If you want to talk about a couple of trailers.
Okay, we'll bang through some. What are you thinking?
I need that Tarantino movie right now.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? I need to know more of it, because right now, like, I don't see like the scam or the scheme or whatever is. Like, I know I'm catching the vibe on everybody's kind of like personality and kind of like story, kind of like their personal stories.
Right.
But like his movies, like especially of this kind, I'm feeling like someone's trying to get over somewhere somehow.
Right.
And I just don't know what that is yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know it's coming, but that's the one thing I want to see. That's the only thing, like, I feel like I want to see more of, get a little bit more of a taste for.
Here's my idea of what's going on.
Sure.
Because I looked at the trailer a couple times. There hasn't been any reviews on it or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think that Leonardo DiCaprio was once a big star that's hit rock bottom.
Right. He's starting to fade.
And he lives on Celio Drive, right next door to Polanski and Sharon Tate's people.
Right.
And it seems like he's this star on the bottom. Sharon Tate's a rising star that he's probably going to want to get in with them somehow.
Right.
And right around the time of the Manson murders.
Yeah. I wonder how much revisionist history he might do,
The only thing I can speculate is that he might be like one of the guys that gets murdered there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Tarantino does like to fuck with
the history.
The history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Adolf Hitler and the bastards. But I will say that's kind of like what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
That it's leaning into.
I kind of run with that too.
Either that or the Brad Pitt character, because he's there too.
Well, I feel like I'm kind of wondering if the Leonardo DiCaprio character is like, because he's a guy who's kind of like in a position where like he's a little bit desperate to hold on to his stardom, that if the thing for him is that he digs some kind of hole for himself in an attempt to stay relevant or something that gets like, it gets out of control. It gets out of his hands, where it's like, oh, fuck, I fucked something up. Like when he walks into that bar, that shot where they come into the bar, he's kind of like frantic-eyed almost, where like I feel like there's a fuck, man, I gotta fix this kind of thing going on in his headspace. I don't know if that's true.
He might be from because he's my age, so I'm figuring that he might be from the old Hollywood. And now that he's on the bottom, because the '60s kind of Hollywood kind of was rebooted with all those titans like Polanski and Coppola coming on the scene, and it was this new age stuff. So I'm wondering if that's what the vibe. Knowing Tarantino is like two levels of Hollywood stardom coming together, and he's trying to maybe ride that wave.
What if, Jay? Just hear me out. What if DiCaprio's character and his stuntman right-hand buddy are actually gay?
Yeah, maybe.
And they've got like the secret relationship going on.
Maybe.
Because it's like back then that shit would always be secret. That would be kind of a crazy like...
Maybe.
Oh, pretty like kind of fitting for the era in a way. And, the only thing those two haven't done lately on film is be gay.
Right.
But
I don't get even for.
No, I don't get it. I don't get a vibe either.
I feel like they're just really tight for so long.
Yeah. They're just buddies. They're just kind of like buddies.
I do like Pacino's line. Is this your son?
I mean, well, it's like, no, we're supposed to be like kind of like the same age.
But I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
I'm all over it, man.
Any other trailers? Any more trailers that you've seen recently that you're thinking maybe get you?
I did. I can't think and stuff like that.
I will say I am psyched up for the Swamp Thing series.
I saw that trailer. Yes.
I like the fact that it's going really horror, really dark, and is gonna like kind of, like I think they're adapting some Alan Moore shit. So that makes me a little bit nervous because Alan Moore stuff on general, like, is always like, oof, like, what is that? Because it gets just so weird and elemental and esoteric.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of that they're going to play. I don't know the storyline. Like, I'm not familiar with Swamp Thing.
I saw the trailer. Looks like they're knocking on Wes Craven's door a little bit with the first film.
Well,
but not.
No, they're avoiding that completely.
But no, the Arcane, the
well, yeah,
characters.
as far as like, yeah, right, the characters. Well, Arcane is Swamp Thing's main bad guy.
Right.
He's in the other ones too. With
I kind of felt when I saw the trailer, there's a couple things right out of that first movie that
it feels like other Wes Craven stuff. But if you go back and watch Swamp Thing, because me and Ed watched it recently, and the one thing that amazed me most about Wes Craven's Swamp Thing is that it's almost all daytime. Like it's almost all daytime.
There was a couple of things in there that just hinted right out of that first film.
They might have lifted stuff too, homage kind
That's
of things.
what I'm thinking.
They might have done some homage.
They might have put it in the trailer too.
Yeah.
I want to watch it again. I haven't seen the first one. Yeah, it is all daytime.
Yeah, the first one is the second. The remake where they have like with Heather Locklear comes in.
That was the part 2.
Well, that's a remake. Like they did Swamp Thing, and then they did Return of the Swamp Thing, and it was like I think it was like because Arcane's back and he's normal. So I kind of always thought it was like
no, it was a part 2. It's just it's not the continuity.
It doesn't hold.
Kind of like the Evil Dead movies. Each one of those movies don't continue.
We're just kind of like naming it part 2, even though like we're redoing half of part 1.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing with Evil Dead. So yeah, there's a little bit of that going on. So I might be kind of hazy. I think you're right though. But that one with Heather Locklear is much better. Special effects, there's a little bit more budget.
A lot more comedy, too.
The costume, well, it's definitely campier as hell. Like, Wes Craven tried to do something pretty straightforward. Whereas, the Return of Swamp Thing is a better looking visually, but has more camp and silliness in it.
But I think that's the charm of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was well received when it came out, actually.
Yeah, look, there's nothing I love more than that costume. That Swamp Thing in the Return of Swamp Thing.
That costume.
That costume is spot on. For a long time, it was the most spot on thing from a superhero comic.
Same guy too.
Yeah,
Dick Durock.
Dick Durock. Yeah, I don't know him for anything else.
He was a stunt man.
Right. They actually gave him lines in that one, like in the other.
Well, he was an actor too, but he was. He's basically one of those Tarantino stuntman guys.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like, we'll bring him from the background.
But the thing is, he is a stuntman that can act. So when you see him, in other movies, he's not doubling anybody.
Right.
He's
doing something.
Because I remember him in Silverado, and I remember him in
a
couple of those movies.
Yeah, I'd have to I couldn't pick him out of a lineup because I only know him from the Swamp Thing.
And I will watch Rambo: Last Blood.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was a given for guys like you and me. As much as I feel like the trailer is like, man, I felt very mad about the trailer. I don't care that you put a cool, very popular song right now behind it.
I don't even remember the song. I just like the fact that it's on this turf.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, that's
I mean?
cool. I like the aesthetic. I don't mind so much the idea of the cartel stuff. It feels very much like a Logan. A little bit aesthetically, I feel like that's kind of a thing that they took the tip of the hat from. They're like, you know what? Not just because it's desert, but I just feel like it's the my last stand kind of story, which is great, which is fine. I
always thought
is the guy who played Trotman still alive?
No,
he's dead, right?
But Brian Dennehy's still alive, and he's the reason why all this shit's happened.
If Brian Dennehy shows up somehow,
I would love it, man.
I will freak the fuck out.
Yeah, if they got the balls.
You know what should happen? Like in the last frame of the movie, Brian Dennehy should come out of nowhere and just shoot him. I've been trying to get to you for 20 years, or whatever. Like, I found you fuck.
I do feel like a fitting ending would have been like a little anticlimactic and said, like, if John Rambo knocked on his door, he's an old man now. Mm-hmm. He goes, why didn't you just... Because his whole life... triggered off from that incident in Seattle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why didn't you just fucking leave me alone?
This is all your fault.
It would have been kind of cool.
And then Denny does the best thing he could possibly do.
Die.
Well, put Rambo out of his misery, which is like, one of those things that like that's the thing with, some people say about John Rambo is that in that first movie anyway, part of him wants them to kill him. himself, like, because he's got some dark, kind of fucked up shit. Like, it's not explicit in any big way, but you can kind of put it on there. Like, you can put things on anything. You know what I mean? But I think people say that because he dies in the book. Like, Dalton or whoever wrote the book, I remember famously, he's got this thing where, like, he's like, I got annoyed that they wanted me to sign a contract where it said for sequels. And I was like, he dies in the book.
Right.
But his agent's like, no. Just sign it.
Yeah.
Because they will make it without you. You know what I mean? Like
they approached Kirk Douglas first.
For what?
For John Ray at the time, yeah.
It's a very different movie. It's a very different movie.
No, it's a very different movie. But I do know that they shot that original ending.
Oh yeah, that's what I've heard too.
They did do both.
They do an ending where he died, and it was just like, well, it's Stallone. He's pretty popular.
Or it was a test audience.
That could be it too.
Yeah,
where like he was actually humanized enough where people felt for him, and I think that's the case.
But they did the right thing. They got Cameron to come in as writer for the second one, and they got a couple other people for the third one, and the fourth one was just a big explosion. And so you really just want to see people shot up for an hour and a half? That's the movie to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm curious about this.
Yeah,
I'll definitely watch it.
Me too. Let's see other up and coming stuff that we are excited.
Star Wars, man. How can we forget?
What's I never heard of it.
No. You don't remember?
Nah.
That thing with the laser sword?
Oh, yeah.
The people in robes?
Oh, yeah, now I remember. The fucking C5 J9.
Listen, Chad Rose.
Chad
Envy.
Right.
We had spoken very, very briefly, but it is a really good time to be a Star Wars fan. There's some amazing shit. Star Wars Celebration, I watched some of the YouTube footage and everything. I watched a lot of it. It just goes to show you that franchise is not going anywhere anytime soon, no matter who fucking pisses and moans about it.
You can't destroy it now.
That trailer blew me the fuck away, man.
Yeah, me too.
They really gave you a solid minute and a half of holy fuck.
They gave I feel like they gave people just enough, and at the same time did what they love to do, which is not have like any dialogue really. Like a couple of lines, and lines that can go and be, bandied about and kind of like, deconstructed and a million different fucking ways, and everybody's gonna be wrong. Because that's what's been happening.
Well, I'm not going to even try to explain what's happening. All I'm going to say is that scene with the broken Death Star and the sea.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Her flipping over the fucking TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So what's your theory? Do you think that TIE fighter has Kylo in it, or do you think she's just training or practicing or something else entirely?
No, it's Kylo trying to.
It's Kylo in it, right? Do you think that she flips over it and clears it, or flips over it and lands on it?
I think she lands on the cockpit
window,
the hatch.
Yeah. I think she
tries to open that up or something.
Seems like from if you extrapolate in your head where that will go, it looks like to me she'll land on it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Trip and slide on it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
We cut to a super close up.
I really do like what I'm seeing on this. JJ back. We touched a little bit about this. I don't really think it's him correcting anything from the previous film.
Yeah.
I think the previous film left a lot of questions that probably will be answered.
Yeah.
Even questions from back
the other one he did
for the other trilogy, the original trilogy,
series.
The Force Ghost stuff. I think all of that's going to come to play because I think it's set up for it with Luke.
Yeah, I think it's set up for it with Luke. I think we are set up for it with the books. I think we're going to get some explanations on things. I feel like JJ's the kind of guy to recognize that we kind of need that a little bit.
Right.
That we've been playing fast and loose with shit for a long time. Even with Darren Lucas, it was very comfortable. It was a different era where you could get away with playing fast and loose. And sometimes these days, we as an audience, me and you, we like a little bit more clarity, especially on things that we've played with for a long time. Like, so how does it really work? I mean, can someone just give me a little clarity? I'm not saying, like, look, midichlorians was a bad idea. We can all agree, more or less. But what I'm saying is that, like, you know, it doesn't mean now don't explain anything. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind a little clarity on why, like, you know, Yoda was able to do stuff as a Force ghost. We never really saw anybody else do any stuff. I mean, I'll take it on faith. I'll take it on the sleeve. Like, I don't.
Right.
If you don't give me an explanation, I'm fine with it. But I wouldn't mind some, even if it's her fucking kind of explaining because she's read books and she's explaining to new students. Or something.
Qui-Gon gave a brief explanation on what it was, but you didn't hear that word again until Revenge of the Sith, where it was even in a better conversation,
Right.
Which I kind of bought. In a way, it didn't bother me as much as, I mean, it's ridiculous in a way, but it didn't bother me enough to tune me off. If I heard it again in another way from JJ, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean.
Maybe it'll give it a little bit more clout.
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah,
Like, I don't need a lot of
No.
heavy explanation on things.
No.
And there's not a lot of stuff that, like, you know, I'm not one of those kinds of purists in any particular way where it's like I'm so precious about it that, like, you know, they can never fucking please me, or like I need certain things from this to feel whole. Like, I mean, I get like that with some things maybe, but with Star Wars, for whatever reason, like, I'm not so beholden, like, oh, if you guys don't clear this up.
Oh, I'm not like that either.
Yeah,
and I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Exactly. Me too. I'm kind of always pretty cool with, like, whatever you put forward. All right, that's all I have to take in, and I have to be, you know, if I want to connect dots, I got to do it in my own head, and then recognize that that's just my idea.
Right.
You know, and I think people get wrapped up in their own little theories and their own little fucking connections that they make, and then when the answers do come, it doesn't match up.
Right.
And they go, no, that's stupid, because my idea was better.
Well,
And that's just a bad way to kind of think.
The whole thing in Attack of the Clones, there was a bit where Obi-Wan goes to the Camino system to look at the clones with the tall, skinny aliens and stuff. There was a piece of story in that that I thought was going to be a bigger thing in the story, and it wound up not only not being in the next chapter, but in a book. In an expanded universe story, because it was the cipher. It was when who ordered these clones?
Oh, okay.
And they said a Jedi master named Cypher Dyas ordered these clones. And he goes, "Well, Cypher Dyas was killed 10 years ago.
Right.
Like, oh, we're sorry to hear that, but I'm sure he'll be proud of what we did for him."
Right.
And I thought that was a big, huge thing, and it turns out to be exactly that. Exactly what they mentioned.
Right.
It was a Jedi that was ordered to order these clones, and then he was one of Dooku's kills.
I got
But
you.
you found that out in a book that you had to read.
Okay, I got you. But at least it was somewhere.
But I feel that if it's in a cinema, you need to at least, at the end of that movie, explain what happened.
I mean, because that's the thing we're used to as an audience, is that, like, you know, time is a precious thing. So you're only going to give us stuff that matters, or that you're going to elaborate on later.
Then they shouldn't have even written in that scene.
Right. Should have cut it out in the edit. You could have saved us a fucking minute.
Right, because it believes, I thought it was going to be a big plot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that, like, whenever they tell you something in any movie, it's being teed up for a reason.
Right.
You know, we're not going to waste our time. You know, it's either going to, like, if it's not a plot development, it's a character development.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Or in earlier parts of the movie is to kind of, like, just kind of illustrate who this character is, kind of thing, if it doesn't have a story point. But the thing like that sounds like, oh, something was going to come back about that. Something about the order, something about the number in the order, how many, or some other aspect or facet.
Well, I think because when Obi-Wan says to Samuel L. and Yoda, Mace Windu, I'm going to say
Fair enough.
When the hologram is projected, he goes, a Jedi master named Cypher Dyas put in these clone orders, and Yoda and Mace Windu look at each other. I'm like,
oh, that
all
guy.
right, there's something, you're building something behiing this that I thought was either going to come out at the end of that movie or in the next movie.
I wonder if that extended universe thing exists before that movie was made, or if it's a thing they got to afterwards.
It almost. I don't remember the story.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm thinking that he was like a decoy of some kind.
Well, sure.
Like they used him to go do this thing.
Well, I wonder. What I'm getting at is I wonder if why they bothered to do it is because it exists in the lore already in an extended universe. We'll give it a nod, or if it was a thing they mentioned, and then somebody who writes for extended universe stuff said, "Oh, that's a thing I can expand on.
Right,
I can write a whole book on that."
I feel that it works. It works in literature, but if you're doing it in a cinematic film, not everybody's going to go and read what happened to Cypher Diaz.
Oh no! I get that too.
Yeah,
where it's like it still falls as a thud kind of thing because it's like, oh, I thought that was a storyline.
Right.
All right.
But the Mandalorian looks amazing. There's nothing wrong to say about that. Carl Weathers looks awesome.
It all looks really good.
Yeah.
Warner Herzog, the whole bit.
Everything just looks perfect on that. I cannot
really
wait for
good,
that.
and really, it's another case of shut up and take my money. Disney's doing it right with the Disney Plus, man. They're like, these Star Wars and Marvel shows.
How much is that a month?
$6 or $7.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. That's what I was going to get at.
What's on there now?
Well, nothing yet. It hasn't launched yet. I think it launches in November.
With Mandalorian.
With Mandalorian. Yeah. And at least probably one of the Marvel shows coming not far behind that, if not at launch. But, the brilliance of it is twofold. It's the price point and saying, well, here's all this extended universe stuff, but it's, with high quality. We're putting crazy money behind it. In the case of the Star Wars stuff, it's the casting and directors, Taika Waititi, Jon Favreau, Pedro Pascal is in it. So it's like we're putting all this crazy money in it. And then with the Marvel stuff, it's like, it's the actors from the movies. So this isn't like the TV stuff.
Canon.
This isn't the S.H.I.E.L.D. where it's, it's canon, but it's adjunct. You know what I mean? It's off to the left. You know what I mean? And it serves to whatever they let the show serve to. Like, these things are going to have, grander repercussions in a way.
Right.
They're giving Wanda a show called WandaVision, and the Vision is dead. So you can only suppose that's going to be about Vision coming back. Now, whether it's something that happens because she's obsessed with him coming back and she makes that happen, she gets in touch with Shuri. And my theory is that, well, he's not going to have the gem, so he's not going to be quite right.
Right.
So is that, what I mean? So, but my point being that, Disney's going out of their way to kind of like set up these shows and the service like to not fail. So it's like, besides this original content that's like exactly what fans want too.
Right.
Like, Star Wars is going to be on a break for a little bit around that time.
Right.
So it's going to be like, well, if you want Star Wars content, guess what? $7 a month.
Well, I think they just greenlit an Obi-Wan series, right?
I don't know if they greenlit. I don't think so. I think I might have.
I thought I heard that.
I think that's a thing where it's like, so close to happening where it's like the worst kept secret thing, but I don't think it's super. It's like even gotten to a point where it's like, the big trades. I don't think like Variety or Deadline have broached it yet.
I saw something.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I've seen a lot of things too, and until Deadline or Variety or Hollywood Reporter
do it.
They have a source. I'm not buying it. But that's the big swing. And but besides all that original content, then Disney's gonna back it all up with all this crazy shit from their vault that's like never been out. Because like that model's dead. You know how Disney's model of like, back on video for the first time in 20 years, first time on DVD, like, Cinderella, like that's dying. That ability to be able to do those releases and pull them back and then put them back out when a new format changes, that's gone. Yeah. We're in a digital era now. So the only thing they can do is be like, here's our exclusive vault where all these Disney classics exist. So if you're a purist who's like, or there's a lot of women actually who are like, super big Disney fans who just love all the Disney, princess stuff, or just love, Disney movies and Disney cartoons, and then guys too, whatever. But, all this stuff that they used to be so protective of now will only be exclusive to their service, which is brilliant because it's just another aspect of like, it's good for the whole household.
Right.
Because even nerdy dad's got his Star Wars show and his Marvel shows. Right. And at $7, $6.99 or whatever it is, They're gonna get everybody in the door for the first couple of years, really cheap, and then slowly raise it up like everybody else.
Right.
But everybody else right now is at fucking $10.
Right.
You know,
Their Showgirls series is going to be good.
yeah, my pilot, the script I wrote for
Right.
the Showgirls series
Yeah, for Disney Plus.
for Disney Plus.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Paul Verhoeven, baby. Nothing says Disney like Paul Verhoeven.
Well, you know, a lot of the cast really wasn't doing anything. It's kind of like Cobra Kai, you know. It's kind of like the Cobra Kai show where we just kind of like, you know, meet the characters where they are now. What is she doing now?
Verhoeven's due for something big.
Yeah. She runs the club. I'll just put that out there. She runs the club now.
No, I'm saying like he's good for a big sci-fi epic soon.
Yeah. I mean, like, has he been making stuff still?
He did a couple movies, but he did it in his native Netherlands.
Okay. Okay.
But they've been getting good reviews.
yeah.
I mean, they're
Is it kind of like sci-fi?
no, it's like
straight.
fucked up drama.
Oh,
movies.
crazy dramas.
Well, that one movie that came out with the woman was a video game a producer,
Okay.
and she got raped, and she's like seeking revenge. It was called L.
Yes. Yes.
That's
yes,
Verhoeven.
Yes.
Come on, what I just said reeks of Verhoeven.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Totally. He's got some weird shit with women. Got weird shit with women. I mean, yes, she gets attacked and abused, but she gets revenge. So, okay.
Things feel very unsafe in his movies.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
cold and unsafe. Even like Total Recall is brutally violent.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Oh, sure. But there's definitely like this disjointed kind of like detached.
Basic Instinct is fucked up.
There is this like sociopathic thing that like the movie itself almost feels like sociopathic. Like there's just it's so pervasive.
That brutal stabbing in the beginning of Basic Instinct, where she's riding him and she's stabbing him with the ice pick into his eye.
Yeah, well, you know, love is a it's a complicated thing. What else you got in your list?
Just there was the rest of it was Star Wars talk, the Knights of the Old Republic, and the fact that there's a campaign to try to get Solo 2 off the ground. Ron Howard has responded to it.
And he was like, boo.
No.
He was like, thank God. Ron's probably very nervous. Ron.
Well, no, I think simply because it was the most well-received Star Wars movie since, like...
What, the last one before?
No. Well,
they're all pretty well received.
Yeah, but this one was kind of like, it got the short end of the stick. Because
Yeah.
So I feel that it didn't get its
due.
It's due, and I feel that this whole I guess resistance in trying to get this movie made.
Right. This outcry of fans.
The resistance, I mean, like a group of resistors.
In a good way. The rabble rousers.
The rebel rousers.
The rebel rousers.
And for Ron Howard to respond to it.
Sure.
I do feel that this is probably going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of love for it.
I think it might take a little bit. I think the studio's probably got to find the right place for it in their schedule and in their mental mapping, and they'll probably be a little nervous about it because that's how the studios are. They get nervous about everything.
Yeah, but there's people that didn't even realize Darth Maul came back.
Yeah, no, you're right. And don't get me wrong, that's not enough of a reason to go see it.
No, but it's enough reason to actually explore that.
Mm-hmm.
But people are saying, "Oh my God, I missed out on a movie that had Darth Maul in it."
Right. Yeah. And it's like, well, you didn't miss much, but yeah, he's in it, and it ties it further into the whole fucking mapping of everything.
Because like a Star Wars fan, you should have went and fucking saw it.
And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You should have gave it a fair shake instead of dismissing it outright.
Because of another movie.
Yeah. Well, because of anything. You know what I mean? Because of another movie, or because like you saw some scuttlebutt or some harsh buzz on the web, or because someone told you, I don't know.
The director change.
If you like that stuff, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. Like, are you gonna stop liking? I don't know. If you end up in New York, or let's say like you're a fucking big fan of fucking a Dallas team, like who's the Dallas Cowboys, and you happen to be out in fucking Texas, but you're not from Texas,
Right.
are you not going to go to a game if you could go to a game? Like, no. Like, why would you not, I'm not happy with the team this season. So, what, are you not going to go?
Right.
Support your fucking team if that's your team. That's what it comes down to. Look at me trying to use a sports analogy.
J.R. Ewing supports the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, J.R. Ewing's a fictional character, okay? And he's made a lot of mistakes. The first one is thinking that fucking hat still works. Too many gallons in that hat there, J.R.
He's a fictional character, but boy, is he real.
Boy, is he based on some real fucking people. But,
And I'm sure, like, his dialogue is verbatim.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. So we've played we played some catch up. We talked about what we've seen lately, and the only other thing I really have that I know that we could get into is like some recent things that kind of have happened in pop culture news a little bit.
Oh yeah,
So
some more pissed off.
Everybody's pissed off, but here's a cool thing that I actually heard about firsthand because not firsthand, but. So I didn't realize it was going to make you know what's funny is like I'll listen to like Kevin Smith's podcasts and then like I don't think like that's newsworthy in any way. I just feel like I'm getting a cool little scoop on something, and then suddenly like websites are writing about it. So one of the things that happened this week is that on Fat Man on Batman, which
I know that podcast.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's even like look, he started it solo and it was strictly about Batman. And now it's not. It's about everything Batman and anything nerdy. But he does it with Mark Bernardin. And, look, it's just two guys doing what we're doing right now. Just shooting the shit about nerd stuff and then doing a news segment about nerd stuff.
I like this format.
So, but one of the things that happened was that every now and then on that, they have a guest. And they film it. They film it and they record it live at, I forget the Scum and Villainy Cantina out in California, which is a themed bar for Star Wars.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And they do themes on top of that to play sometimes. So, like, leading up to Game of Thrones, they had a Game of Thrones thing. That was a thing. Maybe if we remember to get to it, we'll talk about Game of Thrones maybe a little bit.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
A little bit at the end. But, so the guest this week on there was a guy named Zach Stentz. He's a writer on Thor, X-Men First Class, and like a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew that name somewhere.
They do like a Q&A section on the show, like with people from the audience, like after the main part, they can come up and ask. So I don't know if this was cued by that necessarily, but he was asked, and asked about films he's written that like won't come out. And I really thought it was a question that he wouldn't probably answer because it's like one of those things where it's like, well, I don't want to tease something that's like, super cool that you'll never hear, but he did. And so it turns out that at a certain point, Fox had paid him to write up a script of a giant crossover with all of the characters that Fox owned from Marvel at the time. So in this, here's the quote. My ex-partner and I, when we were working at Fox, we were working on X-Men First Class, we did a secret movie for them, but I really can't tell you what the plot was. But I can tell you that it used all the characters, the Marvel characters that Fox had at the time in 2011. So it used X-Men, Fantastic Four, it used Daredevil, it used Deadpool. Daredevil was still at Fox at that time. And it was a really freaking cool script. We almost had Paul Greengrass directing it, which would have been so cool, but he had another project to do instead. It didn't end up going, but it was a script I was really proud of, and it would have been really good. And, that's just fucking bonkers to me. Because, this is before the Josh Trank Fantastic Four happened.
Yep.
So this was a point where, Fox didn't know what to do. Granted, they're just putting feelers out. But the fact that such a script exists somewhere or could have happened is just crazy to me. That you could have had a lineup that would have been like the Fox Avengers, basically. Like it would have been like the Champions or something like that. Like I wonder what they would have fucking called it because I don't know. Did Fox have any of those kind of Marvel? Because Marvel's got these kind of names, Contest of Champions and all these other things that are copywritten. But I wonder if Fox had anything that could be actually branded out of Marvel to be like a all-encompassing title.
Right.
Because this is not the Defenders lineup. It's too broad. I mean, I guess they probably would have called it that, because I guess maybe if they had all that stuff, they might have had the Defenders name in there somewhere. But,
and maybe obtain a few more characters.
I mean, fuck it, why not at that point?
The only thing that I can remember anything crossing over into any of those movies was in the extended cut of the first Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba.
Sure.
There's a deleted scene that they put back into the movie where Reed Richards asks Susan Storm the type of guys she likes.
Oh, okay.
And he morphs into Wolverine a little bit. Like he changes
his hair or something?
His hair is to look like Wolverine.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? Because that was a Fox property.
Sure.
You know
So they could, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like when I remember watching the first Daredevil, it's getting to my point. That would have been cool. You know what I mean? I didn't completely dislike the Fantastic Four movies, except I had major issues with the second one. But the Silver Surfer was so fucking cool in that.
Yeah, as a nerd or as a person who's read that, it almost kind of like, well, this was worth it just to kind of see him in action.
Because I felt,
and a good rendition of him.
Because they fucked up Galactus. You know what I mean? And
it is kind of a movie where like everything except Silver Surfer is terrible or just problematic or not quite landing quite right.
Well, the story was kind of all over the place, though I think the heart was in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like I can't piss on it so much because they're far and away better than the Josh Trank and and certainly over the Corman version. I feel maybe it was more of a missed opportunity. I can file it under that. The first one was okay as a science fiction film, I thought. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I don't feel it's the Fantastic Four. I don't feel the vibe of the four of them was, except for maybe Chickless as the Thing. I thought he was kind of...
Yeah, like he kind of landed it well.
Yeah.
The problem for Sue Storm is that in a lot of ways, she's really not written all that great in the comics to begin with. There's not a lot of meat there to grab onto as a character.
Right.
Reed Richards, the only thing you can do with him is make him kind of like an obsessed jerk in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that's a kind of like a nuanced thing that kind of feels a little weird and out of place in something that you're making into a family-ish film, because that's what that kind of always felt to me. It always felt like, oh, this is definitely PG as fuck.
Well, first one has some dark elements in it, I remember.
Yeah, but I just mean like, there's a certain element to Reed Richards that's just like it's supposed to be, and don't get me wrong, it's not expounded on in the early Stan Lee days of it, but in more modern tellings and stuff certainly from the 80s and 90s where part of the problem between Reed and Sue is that Reed's a little obsessed with his tinkering and his science stuff, and there's never any time for them as a couple, and like he's a little bit of a jerk and really tunnel visioned. And, I don't know how much room you have for that in a movie, but, it is a thing where it's like, I don't know. Hey, folks, by the way, any day now, I have a theory on how Marvel will fold the Fantastic Four into the MCU, and look for that soon on wickedtheory.com. Cool. Finally, I have a post written. I just have to kind of go back and just clean it up a little bit. So any day now.
Okay.
I swear, I have a theory. I have a theory on how they could do it.
What Fantastic Four?
I have a nice little setup of a thing to kind of. It's just enough to fill up a blog post.
The simple flick of the switch for me to correct the Fantastic Four is just someone simply telling me that Marvel Studios is going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I need to know.
That's the flick of the switch. Sold.
I'll take any which way, shape, or form they do it.
Because we haven't heard that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we hear some definitive stuff, like besides Feige saying like, well, yeah, those characters are all kind of back in the stable, that's all I can say. But is this going to be now factored into their? Because this is great timing. Remember we talked earlier about what's their next phase, and this, X-Men and Fantastic Four should be a major part of it, and Namor too, because I think Namor is back there now too. I mean, supposedly there's a Ghost Rider series coming somewhere. I forget where, and maybe to Hulu. and
No Nicolas Cage.
no Nicolas Cage.
Oh, come on.
But who's to say? Because like now that it's a Hulu series, I think they're bringing the dude who played Ghost Rider on the TV series.
Right, I never
on
watched
Shield.
that.
On Shield.
Oh,
Which was all right.
yeah.
Which was all right visually. You know, I look. Robbie Reyes in the comics is younger than that. He's like 18, 19. And he's like, you know, in high school or just out of high school, maybe first year college or something like that. And so it's a different fucking vibe. And I like that a lot better than this guy who's like, you know, fuck, is he my age? I don't know.
Are they going with Johnny Blaze?
But not initially is the idea, is the thing. They've only announced that the guy who played him on the show is going to be the main guy, but it's going to be a different iteration. Like, they're kind of like, yeah, sure, we like him as the character Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, but kind of like forget the TV show. We're going to kind of like restart with him.
So Blaze
which is a
isn't in
strange
this
thing.
at all?
Which is a strange thing. Well, who knows? We just don't really know.
Who's the other guy from the 90s?
Danny Ketch.
Davy Ketch.
Who had kind of like the rice burner, kind of like a Japanese style bike, who
was a good series.
It was a good. I fucking bro. That was like one of the first books I ever had autographed. Really, is when that series launched. Right down there, Jim Hanley's. Got a little sketch. Got a little doodle. Got a little sketch.
You ever been to the Jim Hanley's in Manhattan?
No. I mean, did I? I know it's moved once or twice.
It's changed like 4 times.
Yeah. Well, Manhattan's pricey as fuck. But I don't think so. I've been to the JHU now too.
Yeah.
It's just that now because Jim Hanley's sold it off. But as far as comic shops go, I mean, like I've been in and out of the ones here on the island. You know what's really cool is I was at Comic Book Jones this week, and you'll see over there on the couch that's a comic book called Wailing Blade, which is a new book, and I don't really get sketch covers done,
Right.
but when I was talking to these guys, it's a really cool looking book. Inside, it's kind of about it takes place in like, you know, this kind of dystopian kind of future. Do you remember Battle Chasers at all?
Not
Mortiera as an artist.
not offhand.
Mad Roberto Ramos kind of style. But anyway,
It sounds familiar, but I'm thinking of something
I'm
else.
name dropping artists,
Yeah.
hot artists at the time.
Battle
So-
Chasers sounds familiar, but I don't know it offhand.
It was like hot for a minute. But my point being that these are kind of like these big, kind of like very anime infused, kind of stylized characters, but in a futuristic world that feels very feudalistic.
Uh-huh.
So it was a little bit of, you know, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, you know? And so the Wailing Blade is like this giant, oversized fucking sword, right? Like, this is fucking ridiculous, you know? And it's wielded by an executioner who comes by and, like, you know, literally lops off heads for whoever the ruler is, kind of like of this post-apocalyptic, feudalistic world. And so it's got a lot of like really well-designed characters and style to it. It looks pretty poised for like action figures or a video game or something like that.
Look at it after the show.
Yeah. And so he was like, yeah, there's some more the characters coming that'll kind of like really, they're not in this issue, but
Did he color that in?
he just kind of tinged it with a red marker.
Pretty
in some
dead
spots.
on for some of the, look at that, the visor of the...
Yeah, bro, fucking the fact that he was able to kind of like pull that off as fast as he did, I was like, wow, this guy's fucking really good. But I was like, why don't you draw one of those characters on the cover then? I'll have like something like over everybody, like, you know, I
Yeah.
have a drawing of a character before he fucking appears in the book, you know?
Nice.
So he's actually like when you open, and he went over to the back side too, because that's a sketch cover where the front and the back are blank for artists. And so if you open it, look at the whole thing. He's got this giant fucking hammer, fucking that, you know. So it's all about like these crazy oversized weapons.
I'll look at it when,
Yeah,
when we...
So people check that out.
Nice.
Wailing Blade. Hashtag take the blade. So back to like some newsy stuff.
But yeah, I would have liked to have seen that Fox thing. I mean,
It's kind of crazy. It's almost too much.
I
but
do
then
go
again,
back to them sometimes.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean, I did like the fact that, I mean, Fox to me, X-Men 2
Yeah.
I still hold in very high regard.
Yeah.
I feel X-Men United, that's one of my...
It's the better of that run. Because that run's kind of like hit or miss in part 1. It's hit or miss in part 3.
Right.
2's pretty good, you know? I feel the same way, but 2's worth revisiting in a lot of ways.
And Days of Future Past.
When you watch part 1 now, I'm presuming it's a little bit like, oh, look at them trying. Because they kind of
But we fucking like, holy shit.
well, at the time, too, we were like, this guy's jacked. And then you look at a picture of Hugh Jackman then, he was not ripped.
No.
He was lean, but he was not ripped at all. You know, he was not Jackman yet.
And he had to get there because I listened to a Stern interview he just did.
Okay, yeah. At the fucking crazy regimen he was fucking committed to.
He said that they were tapping Russell Crowe for it. And the Gladiator was just about to come out.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know if I want to do that. He said, but Russell Crowe is the reason why. Because he called Hugh Jackman. He goes, you need to take a look at this.
Well,
and Hugh Jackman hasn't done anything.
This guy, Dougherty Scott.
He was tapped too. Yeah.
I think something happened with him where like he was pretty much signed.
Yeah.
And like either there was an injury or some reason he uncommitted.
Right. Someone else too was attached for Cyclops and he left. Jim Caviezel.
Oh wow. Well, that would I don't know if it really would have changed things, but because I feel like the character doesn't have a lot on the page, but
He didn't have a lot really in the movie either.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, there's not. He's short shrifted. Like he's short shift. Short end of the stick.
But
Dirty
they're
end of the
giving him a
stick.
lot now.
Finally, they're trying.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this guy stands around, probably badass with that weapon, but that's always been a problem with Cyclops.
Right.
It's like he's just like the straight school goody boy. If anything, he's a field leader type, and so.
Just the Captain America of the X-Men.
Yeah, but he's not even that cool.
Yeah, he's not even.
He's not even remotely that interesting. And the problem for him is like Cyclops. He's only interesting when you start to know like what the deal is with his dad, and like so his dad is kind of cool, right. Or his son. Like you know what I mean? Your dad is a space fucking pirate, and your son is a time traveling fucking mercenary named Cable, but you are as bland as fucking toast. You know. Let's switch companies.
Sure.
Batman. Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I have a theory on that.
Hit me with it. I like it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not too keen on it.
Sure.
But I'll say this. A lot of people weren't keen about, Keaton and that whole spiel. Mm-hmm. I kind of was on board with Keaton, and I kind of was on board with Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. Not on board with this, but hear me out. I feel I've never seen any Twilight films.
Right, me neither.
But I saw a movie last year called Good Time.
I heard a lot about it.
Which totally blew me away. And most of it, 90% of it, is due to his performance in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That he's that good. And I was happy for him.
People keep pointing to these last two movies he made. This one and something else. I can't remember the name of it.
Movie he did with Cronenberg?
Maybe.
Cosmopolis?
Yeah, Cosmopolis.
Cosmopolis.
That too. That also. So there's 3.
Truthfully, I haven't seen that.
Okay. But people keep pointing to like, this guy can act. Like, don't dismiss him.
Yeah, watch Good Time. Right. I think it's on Amazon.
Oh, yeah, I think it is.
Because it is really a good movie and he's great in it.
Right.
That said, I don't feel that he kind of fits the physique of Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
That's just me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel that there are a few other choices I would have picked over him. That's not saying anything bad about him.
Right.
So I'm not, for the record,
your instinct would have been to go with somebody else, probably.
Somebody else, you know what I mean? Especially if you want to keep with continuity with what's going on in the DC universe now, because that's what it seems. They still keep going forward.
Well, here's what we kind of know is, like, especially now with him being cast, is that, like, I think that's why we were having trouble with Ben Affleck, is because, I think part of the story was supposed to take place before all this stuff, where it's supposed to be him earlier in his career. Right. And Ben Affleck, does not look like a 30-year-old dude anymore. Yeah. I'm not saying he looks old, but he's not pulling off early 30s, late 20s if he has to. You know what I mean? And this kid does. So, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
I'm not pissed off at it or anything.
No, I get you.
He wouldn't have been my choice, is what I'm saying. But I will say to the people out there
Yeah.
that I don't deny that he's going to give a good performance.
Yeah, I understand the reaction.
I
You know
do
what mean?
too. Yeah.
I think I understand it more here than I have in, like we were talking about other actors cast as Batman and stuff like that.
Right.
I understand it a little bit more here than I did there, because over there I was just like, guys, like seriously, like with Michael Keaton too. Like I had a gut reaction. I was a young kid and I was like, Mr. Mom, and you know, I had to explain to people like, yeah, but clean and sober. But meanwhile, I'm in 6th grade. Nobody else had seen Clean and Sober. I did. Me, like, you know, you got 2 years on me. But like, you know, when I was in school, I was like, yeah, but in Clean and Sober, like he did some serious acting.
Right.
But I was also like a movie buff in school. I had no other movie
Right.
buff friends. So like to me to try and qualify it in 6th grade was ridiculous. But
I think I entertain the idea of that.
Sure.
Because I do love against type casting.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that.
And besides, on paper, the bigger thing to be nervous about back then would have been the fact that Tim Burton was directing it.
Right.
Like if you were a purist, that probably should have made you more nervous than Michael Keaton. You know what I mean? But you know, in the end, looking back, the lesson learned from those things is that like, just wait till you fucking see something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Like-
I'm not, if you heard, I've been kind of silent on it.
Everybody gave fucking the Daniel Craig a hard time as James Bond until they saw it. Then they're all like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I see what we're doing here."
But you see, as somebody told me that out of the gate,
Yeah.
I was fine with it. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I'm just talking about
I
like
guess,
the gut reaction some people have. you
like
know?
he doesn't seem like a Bruce Wayne to me. I'm saying like I could see then.
Yeah.
I could see Michael Keaton as a Bruce Wayne.
Here's the thing: like all the Bruce Waynes like we've known or seen to a certain point have been older than this.
Maybe
version.
that's it.
I think that's a little bit of it, where like we always kind of come into Batman where he's already kind of established and he's a certain level of a little bit older dude, but maturity. Like, you know what I mean? He's kind of got it down. He you know, he's been Batman for a while, and he's like in his mid to late 30s, 40s. You know what I mean? And we've always worked from that point. You know, the youngest we've ever kind of felt was a Christian Bale when they're doing the whole, you know, I'm coming back to Gotham, or before he leaves Gotham, actually, where he just kind of like looks young. They try to make him look young a little bit, you know what I mean? And then he leaves and comes back like 6 years later or whatever. So, you know, it's like, hey, just give it a shot, people.
Well, what about what happens when they decide to do present day?
Well, here's the thing, right? So supposedly this might take place in the 90s.
Right.
Now, I don't think it'll time out necessarily to sync up with Joker, but it could if they're loose about it, if they're kind of ambiguous
The
about
Joker
it.
movie?
Yeah, you know, it could kind of, you know, if that Joker movie ends up with Thomas Wayne getting killed at the end of it, or by the end of it, you know, it's just.
I want to say something.
Well, don't say
no.
nothing. Don't say nothing yet. You know,
Because me and Joaquin go back.
you, Joaquin, and who was the director on that?
Todd Phillips.
You guys are old friends. The three of you, I heard, sat down for pastrami sandwiches in Manhattan.
No, not quite.
Not quite. Oh, okay. But you know, some people are speculating on that because there's a hot rumor that it takes place in the 90s. So some people are speculating, oh, would the timeline sync up? And I don't think it really would.
I didn't think the Joker was going to be part of the universe.
No, I don't think it's intended to. But I think the structures might be left loose enough that you could kind of imagine that on your own as a fan. Oh, it's loose enough. Like it kind of all
Maybe.
works, but doesn't have to kind of thing, you know?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, if this, I mean, tangentially speaking, if this Joker movie, they decide to blend it into the universe, where Joaquin actually mentors the Jared Leto Joker some way, to have it. I mean, I can kind of see that in a way, having it like.
Right, because that's the other thing then. Right, because then if he's like in his early 20s in the 90s, you know, you can't add 30 years to that and say, well, Ben Affleck is the same guy present day. Like, you know, you got to just let it be its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, supposedly it's a trilogy. They're signing him out for a trilogy. It's going to be its own animal. And I'm fine with that. And that's fine. I don't need everything to sync up like over at Marvel. Like, I don't need all the timelines to line up.
Well,
I'm
DC doesn't do it with the exception of those 6 movies.
Yeah. The only place they're paying attention to continuity on any level is on the TV shows.
Right.
Did you read? We talked about Stephen King earlier. Did you read the Dark Tower stuff at all?
Some of the adaptations years ago. By what's his name?
Yeah, I still never saw the movie.
It's not good.
Yeah, well, and I think I figured out part of the problem.
And it sucks because McConaughey and Elba are great.
Yeah, but the whole thing around them just kind of doesn't work right.
Right, and that's the sad part.
And I think part of it is that it's a hard thing to nail down, like, what is this thing? Because it's such a hodgepodge of genres. Like, it's even in the books, it's constantly shifting. There's times where it just feels like, it's just a long walk story. You know what I mean? It's Frodo and the gang fucking just taking a trek, just trying to get to the tower. And we just spent ungodly amounts of time with that. And it's captivating in its own way because there's story stuff going on about them. They're telling each other stuff about themselves and, the histories and whatnot. But my point being that, like, because Ron Howard was asked something about it. He was on a Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. I never heard of it. And kind of admitted that there were several shortcomings with the Dark Tower film. But I feel like this quote is him missing the mark again. And to me, that kind of shows that maybe he never really had the right kind of grasp on it. So the quote is, I think it should have been a horror. I think that it landed in a place, both in our minds and the studios, that it could be PG-13 and sort of a boy's adventure. I really think we made a mistake. I'm not sure we could have made this movie. But I think if we could have made a darker, more hard-boiled look and made it the gunslinger's character study more than Jake, I think in retrospect that would have been more exciting. We always felt like we were kind of holding back something, and I think at the end of the day, it was that. And I agree with everything he said there, except for the fact of horror. I feel like there's horror elements. I feel like there's cowboy elements. I feel like there's sci-fi elements. It's a genre blending fucking hodgepodge soup cauldron that, like, you know what? You need to have a fucking locked in vision, and you need to be the kind of guy who's been this has been boiling in you for years. I feel like Ron Howard, I get why he was pulled in, but I don't think he was the right vision. I think you need a grander vision.
Here's the thing. You sure he's not just saying horror? The only thing is because the Western aspect of it is already spoken for. I'm thinking that he didn't give you the horrific vibe in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
From my perspective, there's a little of it in there.
I think what he might mean is that
because the reason why I'm saying this is because Ron Howard is a director that's not afraid to go dark.
Sure.
If you've seen any of his movies,
yeah,
you know that he's not afraid of the blood. He's not afraid to go harsh.
Right.
So it feels like in this aspect, he was trying to use the Dark Tower as a vice to create a boys' adventure film.
Well, I think that's it.
And I feel he's realizing that was wrong to do. He should have brought. I'm thinking. I can't speak for him. I may be wrong, but it sounds like he's saying I should have put more horror into this.
Yeah.
Because that's really what was missing from that movie.
I think what happened is he finally read the first book. Because,
right.
Because here's the thing: like the gunslinger. The Dark Tower stuff starts with the Gunslinger, which is like a shorter novella type thing in which, like, it's literally, the main character, Roland, on a journey by himself mostly, and it's kind of a horror. Like, the stuff that happens in it, it's like, he meets, like, these mutantoids, and, it's kind of like, it's a little bit, it's not as much cowboy shit just yet, but it's a little bit more Wanderer, classic kind of trope figures and horror stuff mixed in there. And then it gets into the metaphysical stuff once it really launches itself into a series. So I think that might be what he's keying into.
I think, he's saying horror because that's kind of what it lacked, was that aspect.
It might be just that. Yeah. Like, maybe that was like, the ingredient in the soup that we didn't have any of. Like, we had some sci-fi, we had some crazy existential shit or whatever. But the one thing we kind of really didn't have was a horror, so that might have made it complete. But I think he is right if he's saying, like, we should have focused more on Roland and him rather than Jake the boy, because, see, what the problem is that really what they decided to do was blend everything together.
Right.
Instead of doing it like introduction style, because the boy comes in later. Like, not a lot later, but just a little bit later, like after the gunslinger opens up. And so, like, then you get to meet the kid. And since you've established the gunslinger, now we have room where we can just kind of sit there and meet the boy and deal with the boy and get to know his story. So, and that's the way King kind of does it in the books. It's like, as these characters come in, we get their story, we meet them, and we spend time with them. And then someone else comes, you know what I mean? So there's only 4 people that matter to the good guys.
Yeah.
And so as they come in, the last 2 are kind of together in a way. So I think it's a thing where, like, he kind of gets it, and he's even saying, like, I think the other thing might have been just to do straight on, tackle it as television first. It's disappointing because I poured a lot of myself into it, and sometimes this happens on these projects where everybody's best intentions, you're all pulling in a direction, and you sort of say, well, was that the right direction? And I wouldn't say it was all compromise. I do think it's just a sense of maybe too much listening to what you think that the marketplace is calling for instead of the essence of what Stephen King was giving us. Yeah. And I think that's the true lesson.
Right.
I think at the very least, it's a matter of saying, what's the core of this story? How is it presented in the books? And why does that work? As opposed to trying to say, how can we make this fit the marketplace? Which was probably a little bit more of a studio push.
Well, I appreciate him coming out and saying that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. Even with, like, you know, he's very honest.
Reading back, though, I think that's probably what it was. Mm-hmm. I think I agree with you. I think he probably read the first book and realized, fuck, we should have made it more about the gunslinger and put in the horror element.
Yeah. And then, you know,
as an introductory film.
Yeah. And I mean, and as far as it being a TV series, that's the thing I've always been saying from back in the days.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it was too long. Like, I mean, people say, oh, yeah, but we always thought of that. Like, a lot of things that were considered too long ended up getting made into decent trilogies. And I'm like, no, I get you. But there's a lot of fucking disparate things that are juggling here.
Right.
You know, Lord of the Rings was kind of long, at least in its scale. Maybe the books themselves weren't really long, but the scale of it was grand. But it's not pulling in 5 different genres and trying to blend in, like, a lot of different things. It's very much its own world. It's one world. It's kind of like doing a very kind of much more straightforward thing. Whereas, the Dark Tower is like, it's in the past, it's in the future, it's in 1988, it's about the number 13, It's about this guy who may or may not be the devil, but he's not the devil because this other guy is the devil. Yeah. It's about this gunslinger from a future that may not be the future, but probably is the future, that seems like the Old West. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? There's a heroin junkie from the fucking streets of Manhattan in 1968, there's a Rose. Like, what the fuck is going on here? You know?
That reeks of HBO and Netflix.
Yeah. And Stephen King back in his grandiose fucking coke field days, probably.
But I don't think, because I feel that this was probably a bunch of people at a table. Because, like I said, Ron Howard is not afraid to go dark.
No, and look, and the trajectory of the project overall, since, like, he got involved and right before he got involved, was very kind of up in the air. It was going to be a movie. It was going to have a TV show in between the movies. It was going to be 3 movies with 2 or 3 seasons of a TV show. So it was like, and then it changed and it shifted back and forth. So it was definitely a thing where there was, like, a lot of hands involved,
right?
You know, and probably just way too many.
When he initially was, he was the director at one point. Mm-hmm. The thing that immediately, like, got my attention about it was he did a Western film called The Missing with Tommy Lee Jones and Cate Blanchett. It was an R-rated Western dealing with, like, this psychotic big Indian guy. And Tommy Lee Jones was like a white man living. No,
just a local.
He was a white man living as an Indian. You know what I mean? And he was Cate Blanchett's father, and they were estranged. But somebody killed Cate Blanchett's husband and took her kids. So even though they're estranged, he goes out. He takes Cate Blanchett, and they go look for this wild Indian guy, and it's a very gritty Western. And when I saw his name attached to the Dark Tower, I said, fuck, man, he's going to be great for that gritty kind of...
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's a gritty fucking Western. You should watch it someday.
Okay.
I said, well, he'd be perfect. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then now, of course, he went through different directors. He's a producer on it, I think. I think they should just go the Netflix route with HBO.
Yeah, I think just leave it alone for a while. Let it collect some dust, and this way a new iteration can come in, and we kind of start from scratch. I mean, there's talk that a TV show might come, which is going to deal with Roland's younger years, which are flashbacks in the book, and some of like the Marvel comic stuff takes place during that era, so that there are stories established. So, I mean, I don't know if you got to go that far back, because I think some of that stuff is hit or miss.
I have a couple of Marvel hardcovers of the book.
Yeah, I got one too.
I forgot who was behind that.
It's Peter David. And Jay Lee on art, and but Stephen King was definitely co-signing off all that shit between him and this woman who helps him oversee all of his Dark Tower stuff. They had that pretty much fucking in the bag, and I enjoyed some of it. It was pretty cool. I mean, the artwork was insane. Yeah. So I don't know. I just hope that they get it right one day.
We'll see. We shall see.
One day would be nice. Do you play? Are you a video game guy at all?
Not anymore. No.
No, I used to be a little bit back in the days. Okay.
Last game I played was Uncharted 4.
Well, that's not all that long ago.
But it was very little of it.
You just didn't finish it?
No.
Okay. I'm playing God of War now. Like I got through I finished the story, but I'm at a point where it's like I'm doing all the extra stuff that's kind of like left over. But the new God of War is fucking. It's really good.
I really don't have time to.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Yeah. It's like, here's the thing. Like, I rarely get into games. So I've only got like a few franchises that like, when they come out, it's like, well, I'm already sold.
Right.
Like, I don't even care if you're rebooting it. I'm already there. God of War is one of them.
Right.
It is not a lot for me. So I was just jazzed about it.
I got involved in Uncharted by accident. I think I bought Uncharted 2. Like in the value bin.
Okay.
Just to see, because it kind of looked like a little Indiana Jones
Sure.
Of stuff. And then I started playing. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's nutty.
It's good.
I've got Uncharted, like the set where like you get one disc, but it's got the first three.
The first three. Yeah.
And so I just finished part 3, and now I have to finally go out and buy 4 now. So.
What do you have? PS4?
Yeah.
I can lend it to you, brother.
Well, next time.
Because I haven't been playing it anytime. So we got the Steel Book.
Oh, of course you did. Fucking Uncle Jay's fucking Man of Steel books. Man of Steel books. All right. Not a lot left in the news stuff. I kind of mentioned the video game thing because, I don't know, there's a lot of buzz about this Avengers game that might be coming, but I really don't think that we got anything more than a teaser for it. And I just wanted to see if maybe there was anything else, but I don't really think so. Yeah, we're just about at the end anyway.
I just want to say one last thing about Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, let's hit some Game of Thrones on the way out.
As I told you off mic, I'd binge watched all 7 seasons.
Yeah, well,
10 days.
Let me hit you on that for a little bit, because this is a thing a lot of people did, where it was like, oh, the show's coming to an end. I got some time. I might be able to catch up.
Right.
So how was that? What was that like?
Well, it was fun. Well, I pretty much remember the first season pretty well. I watched season 1.
Okay.
And I'm also responsible for my friend ordering the HBO, because I told him, you need to see this. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then I never watched another episode after
You got him hooked, and then you were like, I'm out.
So then last season, I started watching it. And the thing is it didn't really take a slide ruler to figure out what was going on when they're speaking in past tense, because they talk about it, but you don't really have to see it because they do such a good job in telling you what's going on. So when 8 was, I watched the first episode of 8.
Okay.
And then I said, you know what? I have all the fucking Blu-rays.
What am I doing?
What am I fucking doing? You know what I mean? So I just went back and watched I did like 1 and 2. I did I might have been under a day. I remember watching it all goddamn night. You know what I mean? And,
just one after the other, after the other, after the other.
Sean Bean is awesome.
Yeah. Season 1.
So then I watched them all, and then I went back and watched episodes, season 8, 1, 2, and then I watched. I think at that point it was maybe the last 3.
Okay.
I was up to date by the last.
Fair enough.
Winterfell, the Battle of Winterfell, which is what I'm going to start with real quick. I do agree that it was very darkly shot.
Yeah, they went into this denial mode, but within minutes, did you not think that something was off color-wise?
I felt it was. I felt it was shot
dark intentionally, right?
Yeah.
Like you could tell that the color gradient was skewed much darker.
And the thing is, it did kind of throw me off. I don't like when stuff's too fucking dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, you know how to. They're blaming the conform and the edit. And
Yeah.
You know, or whatever it was. I think that it was just a little too dark. You need to brighten out.
I think they pitched it dark overall because they had a lot of dark stuff going on. It was a nighttime thing, and it was just about setting the mood. They just pitched the fucking slider down a little too low. That's all.
I think I feel like they went for an effect because when they all go out with the torches,
right,
and then you see the torches go out, and that kind of thing was a cool effect. I'm gonna say it was great. You know,
it's great for storytelling.
But it was a very well done episode.
Yeah.
What I really want to speak about was the second to last episode, the bells. I really couldn't believe the backlash on it.
Right.
I actually felt bad for HBO.
Sure.
Because it did not deserve the backlash whatsoever. I want to say this for the record.
Sure.
I want to go on the record. That 80 minutes of Game of Thrones, the season The Bells, film directors really need to take a good look at that to understand what a phenomenal medieval movie could be in a sense.
Sure.
Everything is there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, the politics, the dragons, the war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's going on, the way things look, the way things are shot, the Mountain and the Hound fight with the dragon flying over.
Amazing stuff.
Amazing. Like it's one of the most amazing pieces of medieval motion picture storytelling I've seen. Yeah, in a long fucking time. So much in high regard that when I went back and seen some of the people that I know personally ripping it apart, I just feel like they just don't understand. Like they're not getting the outcome that they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have all this speculation, and you have everybody saying, you know, okay, so this is what needs to be done. The Khaleesi needs to do this, and Jon Snow needs to come out and do that. And if this doesn't happen, fuck that. I want to redo the whole season. And
That's
I feel,
insane,
and I feel like they're riding on that so much now that. That's the way it is. That's the way they live their life now. They won't accept what is produced and put on. Star Wars is going through the same shit.
Yeah.
So I really feel like I need to go against what some of my friends are saying.
Sure.
And just say that was one hell of an episode. Probably my favorite episode ever.
Right. I will say that I think the thing that gets lost for people, and what worked for you very well, is by binging it. Everything stays fresh and a little fresher in your head.
A little bit, yeah.
So there's a little bit. Look, granted, a lot of people fell in love with Dany, and they thought Dany couldn't possibly be as evil as she turned out to be in those last few episodes. But I think the binge helps keep that a little fresher in mind.
Yeah, because
a lot of people, when you go back, Danny's got a record of doing some really questionable shit at times and making some really questionable fucking judgment calls. That in those moments you're supposed to be like, I don't know.
She's this little girl.
She's a little girl, and she's like, I'll take it by fire or death. I will take the fucking throne. And for a season or so, that was not what she was talking about or doing. So it was easy to forget. And now we come to season 8 where it's back on, and that's a thing that comes back to the surface in a little bit of a way, for lack of a better term.
True.
So some of these people kind of forgot how fucking, warped Dany would kind of get. Don't get me wrong. They also played those moments early on in the series when she would do stuff like that as like, well, I get where she's coming from. The tactics are a little extreme, But okay, all right, whatever. That's Danny. That's how she's going to be. She wants the throne. And even in that moment, you accept it. You take it on. And I think for some people, like you said, they kind of pictured some other kind of fucking ending. And also, too, there's a lot of people who were like, but Danny would never do that. That's not in her character. And I'm like, look, I agree with people who say they didn't give that last season enough time. Because I think that's another aspect. Well, season 8.
Oh, 8.
Well, or any time enough to kind of keep in mind that Danny doesn't give a fuck when it comes down to certain shit.
Right.
We had a season where she kind of like, kissy with John and was very kind of calm and nice for a while. But she was taking the world by fucking storm. And so I feel like if we had a little bit more time to kind of like another episode or so, not a lot, but like another episode or so, to just have a little bit more time to be in Danny's head, that might have stuck with people a little bit better. Because I feel like the thing for the season, too, for me, I was like, in the moment, I'm like, wow, this is a crazy reaction. This is like a serious overreaction. But
there's two things.
But
though.
in my head, I was like, but this is kind of like who she is. And they want me to feel like she's been pushed to this point. And the thing for me was like, I get why people don't agree that she was, or don't feel, in sync with her being pushed to that point, because like you didn't have any time for it. You had scenes. I mean, it's established, it's there, but there's not enough time spent with it. It's very much like, look, you can miss it. You blink and you miss it. Tyrion comes into the room and she's sullen, and Tyrion's like, you have a traitor and you missed. And she's like, is it John? And he's like, well, no. And that's supposed to clue you in that she's not trusting anybody right now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of quick and it's kind of fleeting. And we do have a thing right now with this show where, because it's omniculture, it's a thing everybody's talking about, that means the percentage of people who are going to be unsatisfied with any ending, no matter what it is, even if it's like really kind of like everybody loved it, there will always be a percentage of people who kind of like, it didn't work for me. So, I feel like it's exasperated. I liked it. I got it. You know what I mean? I thought it was a bit much. I felt like the problem for the series, though, was a little bit of not spending enough time with the important things to the overall stories. They spent a little too much time sometimes with the character stuff, where it's like, well, where does this put this guy? And where does this guy end up in the end? And this kind of thing. Whereas, like, the person who needed the most story fucking given to them was probably like Danny, and fucking the resolution at the very end with this council bullshit. But what did you want to say?
No, well, the thing is to touch what you were just touching on the last 3 episodes. You just established, Danny's history of who she was. She was this little girl.
Yeah.
And she kind of grew into this queen.
Yeah.
And now this is her first taste of power.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is believable to me in any person in that role.
Right. You're chasing
power.
You're chasing it forever, and it's right here now. It's this close.
Now you know that you're not the rightful heir to that throne. And you're in love with the person that is.
Right.
And the first instinct into the turn is the conversation she has with Jon Snow.
Right.
Tells her, don't say anything.
Yes, right.
And you can see her mood change. She said, I just told you how it could work, I believe is what she said.
Yeah. I told you what to do.
Yeah, I just told you how. But it was more
like, what the hell are you doing?
Like angry.
Yeah.
Second thing is when Grey Worm's girlfriend there
gets her head chopped off.
You can see the anger. So then leads to the scene where Tyrion says to her, if the bells ring,
right,
you already know she's not ready to do that.
Right.
You already know from the moment she walks off from that last episode to the next episode where Tyrion says to her, the bells ring. I didn't buy it. I said she's going to fucking tear that
her
fucking
reaction
place
in
up.
the moment is very dismissive of his whole
Exactly.
point. Yeah, him
so
pointing
it
that out.
Be a surprise.
It shouldn't have really been a surprise.
It made for great drama.
Yeah.
When it took a while for the bell to ring, and they're all looking at the bell, and she's there ready.
Yeah.
And once it does, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But I expected it.
Yeah, you kind of knew it was a possibility.
I knew it, and a lot of people already programmed that
Right.
Danny's not going to do that.
The bells are going to ring.
The bells are going to ring.
And she's going to let off.
And maybe they'll kill
Cersei. It's like, that's what I kind of thought was going to happen too. Was a possibility anyway. Like
Right.
the bells are ringing, and it's like she's waiting. I'm like, all right, so is she going to make a beeline straight to Cersei's tower and just
Right.
take out that tower and hope for the best? But people kind of forget the other aspect too, is that, like, in episode or 2 before, she's saying, like, well, why do I want to take over that town, that whole city? Like, none of those people are going to back me. Because that's the other thing she believed. All those people were in the Lannister camp, and even the civilians. So whether she was right or wrong on that, that's where she was coming from. Like, she believed that. Like,
Right.
so like when she's on that dragon and she's waiting for the bell thing happens and she's mulling it over and she starts to get fucking fired up, it's a lot of her telling herself, well, fuck this bitch.
Yeah.
Fuck these people. These people are never gonna fucking follow me. Not in their hearts. Not like my armies.
Yeah.
Not like my Sullied who I freed. These people are never gonna really see me as anything else. And she makes a call, and she says, "Fuck it." Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think she had to burn the entire fucking place down to make her point,
Right.
because she could have ruled by fear, which she was fine with too. But in the end, it's like, here's the other thing. It's like, this is what they decided to do.
This was a great power move on that role.
Yeah.
On her part.
On her
I'm saying
part, on her part.
to really just annihilate this entire city because no one's going to fuck with me now.
Right.
I got a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
I will burn your fucking city to the fucking ground. And I think that kind of build was kind of brilliant in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's a total change.
I think the thing that they suffered from was kind of like stepping away from that for a little while. That period in season 7 and such, where she's that whole super determined angle of her about the taking over everything to do the best thing, is kind of off the radar a little bit. So people forget about that shit. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, but that's her whole thrust. So when the old Dany kind of comes back in spades because she's pushed to her limits, you know what I mean? And she's, thinking like, well, fuck everybody else. The only one who's in my corner is Grey Worm and my legions.
Yeah.
John, I don't know what the fuck is up with John. Tyrion's fucking just as fucking shifty as fucking Varys.
Right.
And Varys I fucking killed. It's very much a like, fuck it all kind of thing, which you rarely ever see from a character do anyway. But I thought it was kind of fucking like, I was mixed bag on it. But I know that it's established that it's there. So I kind of get why some will have a harder time.
Yeah.
But people who fell in love with Dany and were kind of like always very like, oh, well, it's just Dany.
Well, that's
the key.
what we're dealing
Yeah,
with. You know what I
think
mean?
that's
To
the
me,
thing.
I think it fit the medieval mold
Yeah.
of characters, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
look.
at this point, you once you're on that throne, you have power. You fuck with me, I will fucking kill you.
Look, I mean, I can go on about it because I have more bones to pick with other
Right.
scenes later on.
I'm talking about it as a structure of an episode.
for a thing with
You know what I mean?
for the bells.
For the bell, I feel that anybody can take whoever take anything from that. It's how to do
Sure.
a medieval film.
Yeah, the technical stuff. on that.
Technical stuff, you know what I mean? I had no problem with the outcome of it.
Yeah.
As far people really get it. I mean, you start knife and forking it together.
Sure.
Yeah, there's issues here. I don't think the end. I wouldn't have picked the ending
Right.
like that. You know what I mean? I would have killed Grain Worm because he pissed me off.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? I felt there could have been a good. I thought maybe him and Jon Snow would go at it.
Yeah, I thought that was a missed opportunity. I thought
Yeah.
that would have like really spoke to the theme of John being, because here's the thing, like John is a wishy-washy guy when it comes to decisions up front. When you tell John we need you to make a decision, he won't. When John has to make a decision on his own in the moment, he does. So if John in that field, when Grey Worm gives him that look like, oh, you're pushing your men back, like that's when they should have went at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when they should have had the fight. And then
that would've
John
been great.
and then John could have been,
Yeah.
John and Daenerys' fight or argument then would have had more weight to it.
Yeah.
Because I had trouble with the John being wishy-washy for 7-8 seasons, and then Tyrion has one conversation with him about killing his girlfriend, and he fucking does it easily. Well, not easily, but that should have been a harder call.
Maybe because of those 7 seasons of the same shit. Like, maybe it's time. You fucking made a decision. You understand?
Well, that is Tyrion's point.
Yeah.
That is very much Tyrion's point. He's like, you know where we are now. It has to be done. And like Tyrion won't even say it, but Jon knows. But it just felt like for a guy who's like been so on the fence about everything and usually not even making a call in the end.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
kind of, yeah.
It's kind of like it was too easy, but it's a time constraint thing.
Right.
They painted themselves into a corner. Like they were like, no, we only want to do six episodes this season. We'll do longer ones to make up for it. There'll be longer run times, but we're only going to do 6. And to me, it's like, guys, just fucking milk it, would you?
Yeah.
Just do fucking 2 more. You know, HBO will back up the fucking truck. Supposedly, HBO wanted 10 and 10 for these last 2 seasons, and they were like, nah, we only want to do, like, we feel like 70-something episodes was our framework, and we can bring it in under that, within that benchmark. And meanwhile, like, it's like, yeah, but a little more time in the last season for all of it. Because you guys, they had to make exceptions and do things just based on running out of time.
No, I understand people's issues with it. You know what I mean? But I feel it's getting a lot of unnecessary heat. I mean, I thought it was a really good season.
Hey, look, man. Here's the thing, too. In general, it's a finale. This is how all finales go, or for the most part. Like, I mean, when was the last time there was a finale that was, like, universally loved? Fucking MASH? Or Saint Elsewhere?
As far as TV series?
Yeah, like when was the last time it was a finale that everybody kind of really thought was great? Because Seinfeld was mixed bag. Lost was really mixed bag. Saint Elsewhere was probably mixed bag a little bit because at the end it's a snow globe. I'm sure some people were like, well, fuck you. It was all fake. Like, you know?
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know. Like, you know, I wonder what the batting average is on finales and people's fucking reactions. And look, here's the thing. Different world now. We track more of this now.
Bob Newhart's was good.
Bob Newhart was great.
Because it was really a dream from the
other show.
It was him.
In his first show.
It's the first show, Bob.
Show previous to that.
It's the first show, Bob.
You're right.
Having a dream. The whole...
I had an inn. I ran a bed and breakfast.
And his wife was there. And that was fun.
Yeah. That was like... I hadn't watched a lot of that show. I watched a good amount of it, but that episode I caught.
With Bob, Daryl, and Daryl?
Yeah, with Daryl and Daryl. My other brother Daryl. But yeah. And then Seinfeld is mixed bag too, because Seinfeld is like a show where it's like, that final episode feels weird too, because I feel like some of it's not shot on in front of an audience.
Right.
So some of it doesn't get laughs, and it's supposed to. And it kind of feels disjointed compared to regular episodes of that show.
It's a little odd.
It throws off the rhythm a little bit. I mean, granted, too, they're doing a bigger story structure where it's like, well, we're trying to tie in everything that ever happened here. So,
but I think it was cool that they all wound up in jail.
Well, you know what it's brilliant about it is for a show that figured out that it should be a show where everything ties together by the end of the episode, which is something they figured out along the way. That the last episode should be about trying to find ways to tie in as much as we possibly can.
Right.
So, I mean, kudos for the effort.
They're all miserable human beings.
Yeah, they're all, turns out, oh yeah, you guys are shitty. Oh yeah.
And you're going to jail.
Yeah, you know. And what's funny about Seinfeld is that like people noticed that a long time ago and pointed out. Well, the greatest thing is about like they're all very nepotism. They have a lot of nepotism and self-interest and egotistical in a way. They're wrapped up in their own fucking issues. They don't even hear each other complain. Like, you know. And it's like, well, you're so busy laughing and it's a sitcom, so you kind of forget. And then at the very end, it's like, oh no, we got a story. And it's like, oh wait, oh okay, all right, okay, this is different, but all right, cool. All right, so speaking of endings, I think we're at it here.
Exactly.
We're just over 2 hours. So,
and if you have a problem with this ending,
I mean, fuck you.
somebody died.
Because I'll get on my dragon and come to your house right now. And I got the hand of the king right here. Fucking Jay's helping me make all my decisions, so you know you're fucked now.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Let's have another drink.
I think the real question is who's going to go in the bathroom first. All right, so Jay, let's wrap it up. Mm-hmm. Let's do the plugs thing. Where can people find you on Twitter?
Same place.
Uncle Jay's Thing.
Uncle Jay's Thing.
At Uncle Jay's Thing on Twitter. if you're not on Facebook, but you want to be, Jay's the first guy you should follow.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
I had no idea where I was going with that.
It's all about me.
I managed to say
Bob
that.
likes to point out all the time. It's all about me.
Well, I pointed out too.
All right.
Maybe you just don't hear it from me because you like me.
I'm just tired of defending myself.
I think you like me a little better. You like me just a little better. All right, so follow Jay at Uncle Jay's Thing. Follow me at Wicked Theory. Wicked_theory on Instagram. I don't know. I never give that out. And just, hey, support the show. You know, give us a rating, review, some stars. Did you enjoy this? Did you like this? Did you like hearing from Uncle Jay?
Yeah.
Send me an email. Let me know what you're thinking. podcast@wickedtheory.com. And as always, this has been the Wicked Theory Podcast. And for that, we apologize. And then I think the only other thing is to maybe outro music.
Rock and fucking roll, baby.
Okay.
Drink a lot of scotch.
Like, how much is a lot?
More than a little and less than too much.
So you got to use your own judgment, folks. That's not good. Thanks for listening. Check us out next time. You can hear me on WCBJ Radio. That's another podcast. That's the podcast from my local comic shop. Folks, go check that out. It's very different. It's a nightmare fuel kind of thing. We hope you like it.
Have me on one day.
We'll try to get Uncle Jay on. It's the least comic book podcast from a comic book shop that you'll ever hear. Except this week. This recent episode, we actually got the comic books, which is crazy. But go check it out. WCBJ Radio. Thank you. Goodbye.